Chapter 33-54. Look, they never intended to let us go. Why don't we go all out? I'd like to see how strong the so-called overlord is. Darkness Ling Xiao sneered. His eyes were filled with an unruly sharpness. He was Ling Xiao's darkness doppelganger, not only because he was condensed from the origin demonic bone, but also because he embodied Ling Xiao's violence, cruelty, coldness, heartlessness, and other negative emotions. Darkness Ling Xiao was an extremely special existence. Even though he now had his own consciousness and had even completely cut off his connection with Ling Xiao, in the face of threats, not only would he not lower his head, it would even provoke him to retaliate violently. If we don't come, you'll definitely die. If we come, you might still have a chance to live. Faith Ling Xiao said calmly. His eyes flickered with a strange light, as if there were countless thoughts gathering. Each thought was like a mysterious world, representing a fragment of the future. Faith in Ling Xiao was divining the future, divining the secrets of heaven. It wanted to find a way out for Ling Xiao from a dead end. They're just two peak great emperors who have just attained the Tao. What can they do? Ling Xiao, do you really think you can survive with just two doppelgangers? The flowing time emperor sneered coldly as his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. What? Are you looking down on doppelgangers? I'm also a great emperor, and you're also a great emperor. It's just that you've lived a little longer. You're like a rat, struggling at death's door. Do you really think I can't beat you? Darkness Ling Xiao rolled his eyes, revealing a trace of fierceness. Our top priority is not to defeat them. The three of us can't do that. Instead, we have to buy time for Ling Xiao to transcend completely. Darkness, you deal with Flowing Time Emperor. I'll stop Fate Emperor and Karma Emperor. Ling Xiao, you deal with Chaos Emperor and break through as soon as possible. Only if you break through as soon as possible will we have a chance to live. Faith Ling Xiao transmitted his voice. You'll deal with Fate Emperor and Karma Emperor alone? Can you do it? Why don't you leave Karma Emperor to me? I've long disliked that bald donkey. Let's see if I can break his bald head. Darkness Ling Xiao said doubtfully. Don't worry, I'm confident I can stop them for a while. Faith Ling Xiao said with a smile. All right. If that's the case, let's fight together. Ha ha ha. You used to be my doppelganger, but now you are my brothers. If you can die on the same day, it will be a happy ending. Ling Xiao laughed heartily, his eyes revealing a shocking battle intent. Even though he was on the verge of death now and his entire body had suffered unimaginable injuries, his Tao heart was firm like a rock. The aura around him was peerlessly vast and violent like a volcano, and it seemed capable of obliterating everything. That incomparably powerful fighting spirit soared into the heavens and filled the heavens and the earth, causing everyone's expression to change slightly. Who wants to be brothers with a jinx like you? What bad luck! Watch me slaughter the Flowing Time Great Emperor. Darkness soaring clouds turned his head away arrogantly and barked out coldly as he charged towards the Flowing Time Emperor. But Faith Ling Xiao saw that there was a flash of emotion in Dark Ling Xiao's eyes. I'm going too. Be careful. Faith Ling Xiao said indifferently, then turned around and left. Rumble. Faith Ling Xiao's aura rose as vast as the sea. A mysterious and powerful force spread out, causing the heavens and the earth to shake violently. The Eldritch continent seemed to have sensed something. In the human territory, auspicious chi rose and divine light bloomed. The heavens and the earth shook as the vast human race's fate rose like a bright divine sun, floating behind Faith Ling Xiao. Swoosh! 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 An invisible force of fate surged in all directions, instantly forming a mysterious fate realm that shrouded the Fate Great Emperor and the Karma Great Emperor. The divine sun behind Faith Ling Xiao floated as his fate rose. He looked ethereal, as if he was untainted by any dust, and his eyes were clear and bright. Rulers, I would like to ask for your guidance. Faith Ling Xiao said calmly. Using the Fate Great Tao to prove your Tao. You're not bad. Now that you're using the human race's fate great Tao to form a fate realm, you're invincible. What a great technique. I'm afraid that even the epic great emperor would die in your hands. But do you really think that you can stop me with this technique? The fate great emperor's eyes flickered as he said indifferently. I can try. Faith Ling Xiao said calmly. Ba. You have the root of wisdom and fate with Buddha. Why do you insist on going down the wrong path with Faith Ling Xiao? Why don't you convert to Buddhism and join our Buddhist sect to become an ancestor? The Karma Great Emperor put his palms together and looked at Faith Ling Xiao with admiration. Monk, if you want me to join Buddhism, you'll have to defeat me first. Faith Ling Xiao said with a smile. He then sent out a palm strike towards the Karma Great Emperor. Rumble. Boundless energy of karmic luck rose up like a mysterious river, yet it also seemed like it contained a boundless world. It revealed the various scenes of the human race's arduous journey since the ancient times, and it was extremely difficult to arrive at this point. It was mysterious and unfathomable. Faith Ling Xiao's palm strike was similar to the Karma Great Emperor's Buddhist country in a palm. Since that's the case, let me guide you into Buddhism. The Karma Great Emperor said indifferently and sent out a palm strike as well. His Buddhist country in a palm seemed to have covered the entire desolate world and the endless chaotic void. Within it, there were 3,000 living beings, endless worlds, Western paradise, and the Tathagata sage realm. One couldn't help but be immersed in it. This was the Tao of the Karma Great Emperor. He used the power of karma to guide all living beings and turn them into Buddhas. This was his great ambition, his persistence and accumulation over countless years. This was also the source of his strength. Although the Buddhist sect was on the decline now, the strength of the Karma Great Emperor was still extremely strong. Boom! The void trembled as the two palm strikes swept out in all directions like a hurricane. Endless worlds were born and destroyed as the world trembled. The Karma Great Emperor and Faith Ling Xiao shuddered and retreated at the same time. Slash! The eyes of the Fate Great Emperor flashed with a sharp glint. His sword chi was unparalleled, turning into a dazzling sword light that slashed down at the Fate domain. The Fate Great Emperor knew that Faith Ling Xiao was borrowing the fate of the human race to fight. The human race was the lord of the epoch. They were blessed by the heavenly Tao, and their faith soared to the heavens. Mobilizing the human race's power of providence was equivalent to being blessed by the heavenly Tao and suppressing everything. Even someone as powerful as the epic Great Emperor would not dare to face them head-on. The Fate Great Emperor didn't want to fight with Faith Ling Xiao. Instead, he wanted to leave the battlefield and suppress Ling Xiao to prevent him from taking that final step and transcending. Fate Great Emperor, take my move as well. Sattva sword. Faith Ling Xiao said calmly. He pointed his finger in the air, and a mysterious sword chi gushed out from his finger. It was like a vast river that contained the unyielding will of all living beings. It was immortal and eternal, and it flew towards the Destiny Emperor. Xing! The sword chi clashed, causing the world to tremble. The sword chi of Faith Ling Xiao was instantly slashed apart by the Fate Great Emperor. The sword of fate slashed the fate of all living beings. It was extremely sharp and unstoppable. However, the sword chi that was slashed apart didn't dissipate. Instead, it turned into two sword chi and flew towards the Fate Great Emperor. Just like that, the sword chi was constantly slashed apart and reformed. The faith of all living beings seemed to be endless. It turned into a sky full of sword chi and enveloped the Fate Great Emperor. He couldn't escape for the time being. Faith Ling Xiao used the fate of the human race to block the Karma Great Emperor and the Fate Great Emperor. Faith Ling Xiao is indeed a good person. Darkness Ling Xiao, who was fighting with the Flowing Time Great Emperor, glanced over and his eyes were filled with admiration. His competitive spirit was ignited. Demonic light surged around his body and blood chi filled the sky. Unparalleled fist imprints continuously pressed down on the Flowing Time Great Emperor. The infinite demonic armor of the demon ancestor is in your hands? Damn it! The Flowing Time Great Emperor's eyes were filled with shock and fear. The infinite demonic armor was a unique treasure that was extremely powerful. It wasn't much weaker than the legendary 10 Great Chaos Treasures. Legend had it that this was a weapon left behind by a transcendent being. It was extremely powerful, and its true owner was the demon ancestor of the demon race. In the first era of the ancient era, the demon ancestor had attained the Tao. Relying on the might of the infinite demonic armor, countless supreme experts had fallen in the hands of the demon ancestor. It could be said that the demon ancestor's demonic might was monstrous and unparalleled. If not for the immortal emperor of the immortal race and the ancestor god of the god race, the demon ancestor would have dominated the world long ago. Even the flowing time great emperor had suffered a great loss in the hands of the demon ancestor. Rumble. In an instant, he and Darkness Ling Xiao had exchanged hundreds and thousands of punches. Every strike caused the void to rumble. Ancient stars exploded into dust, and the void distorted violently, shattering and then reforming again. Darkness Ling Xiao's strength was indeed not as strong as the flowing time great emperor. However, the infinite demonic armor gave him an absolute defense. Furthermore, his speed was extremely fast, and the more he fought, the stronger he got. Although the flowing time great emperor quickly gained the upper hand, he couldn't kill Darkness Ling Xiao. Instead, Darkness Ling Xiao was like a piece of leather plaster, entangling him tightly. Your two clones may be strong, but they can't save you today. The Primal Chaos Great Emperor said coldly. The unparalleled Primal Chaos fist mark was like a Primal Chaos divine mountain, pressing down on Ling Xiao with unparalleled ferocity. Ling Xiao's body shook violently, and he coughed out blood as he was sent flying again. His entire body was like a lamp that had run out of oil, and the aura on his body became extremely chaotic. Only the myriad Tao golden core in his chest shone with a dazzling light, continuously devouring the origin of the myriad Tao in the world and gathering primal chaos divine power. Under the refinement of Ling Xiao's flame of life, it gradually took shape. The myriad Tao golden core, which was originally like a sun, seemed to have been compressed to the extreme and was transforming into an elixir. The myriad Tao golden core, which was originally incomparably illusory, was now completely solidifying and materializing. Once the myriad Tao golden core materialized, it would be the time when the myriad Tao golden core took shape, and Ling Xiao would truly transcend. Kill. Ling Xiao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were incomparably cold. Like a flash of lightning, he charged towards the primal chaos great emperor. Chapter 3355. Boom! It was as if the sea of life had exploded in Ling Xiao's body. Boundless life origin surged and repaired his damaged body. Although there was a huge gap between his strength and the chaotic emperor's, Ling Xiao managed to hold on with his strong will and unyielding fighting spirit. This was especially so for the epic, creation, and dominator supreme fist skills. When Ling Xiao condensed the myriad Tao golden core, he gradually gathered the power of transcendence within it and started to unleash transcendence fists. The battle was getting more and more intense. Ling Xiao wasn't the only one who was severely injured. Even Faith Ling Xiao and Darkness Ling Xiao were covered in blood. Their auras started to weaken. The surrounding crowd looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of shock. He managed to hold on until now with the cultivation of an imperial emperor. Ling Xiao is too terrifying. Even his two doppelgangers have proven their Tao and become emperors. Such monstrous talent is unheard of. I'm looking forward to seeing Ling Xiao survive this calamity. He'll be able to combine the myriad Tao and transcend successfully. The crowd discussed animatedly, their eyes filled with anticipation. Although their rationality told them that Ling Xiao might die as the chaotic emperor and the rest were too strong, they were still biased towards Ling Xiao. They hoped that Ling Xiao could create a miracle. Rumble. At this moment, the myriad Tao golden core in Ling Xiao's body suddenly gave off a dazzling light. Divine chains of order rose up. The dazzling golden sun seemed to shoot out from Ling Xiao's body, causing the entire Eldritch continent to shake violently. At this moment, the world lost its color and the sun and moon lost their light. Even the sun above the Eldritch continent paled in comparison to the myriad Tao golden core. The wind and clouds surged in the surroundings, and the vast and unparalleled power of the heavenly Tao origin courageously poured into the myriad Tao golden core. The myriad Tao golden core formed a vast vortex that continuously devoured the origin energy of the 3,000 great Taos. The myriad Tao golden core is about to be fully condensed. The primal chaos emperor shuddered, and his eyes were filled with anticipation. Even the karma martial monarch, the destiny martial monarch, and the flowing time martial monarch shuddered as their eyes burned passionately. Facing the myriad Tao golden core, no matter how calm they were still incomparably excited at this moment. Go all out and kill them. Murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the primal chaos emperor. Majestic chaotic light gushed out from his body, turning into a supreme fist that pierced through the heavens and earth. In an instant, it pierced through everything and landed on Ling Xiao's chest. Boom! Ling Xiao's entire body shook violently as blood mist filled the air around him. His flesh and blood instantly turned into nothingness, leaving behind only a golden skeleton and the dazzling myriad Tao golden core in his chest. Primal Chaos Emperor reached out and grabbed the myriad Tao golden core. Clang! The sword chi was unparalleled. Around the Destiny Emperor, the ethereal power of destiny gathered. His emperor's aura rose. He destroyed the destiny domain with a single slash. The Karma Emperor sent faith-soaring firmament flying with a single palm strike. The two of them joined forces and bolted towards the myriad Taos golden core as well. Buzz! The time compass flew out from the endless void. This was an emperor weapon that the primal Chaos Emperor had crafted. Now that it was back in his hands, it formed a time domain that trapped darkness soaring firmament within. The eyes of the flowing Time Emperor were filled with a look of determination. A long river of time gushed out, shrouding down on the three emperors of chaos, fate, and karma as he reached out to grab the myriad Taos golden core. Ling Xiao and his two clones were no longer a concern. The biggest threat would be the primal Chaos Emperor and the others. Therefore, the primal Chaos Emperor did not hesitate and struck out at the three of them. Everyone's faces changed drastically. It was only then that they realized that this was the true strength of the primal Chaos Emperor and the others. No wonder they were ancient emperors that had survived from the first era to the present. They were supreme beings that were known as sovereigns. Their strength was formidable to the extreme. Was Ling Xiao really going to fall? With the four supreme beings joining forces, Ling Xiao had no chance of surviving. Boom! However, at this moment, a dazzling light beam shot out from Ling Xiao's body and shrouded the world in an instant. It exuded a monstrous dragon's aura that was terrifying to the extreme. The endless light was like a dazzling boundary that appeared in the void in an instant, blocking the primal Chaos Emperor and the others outside. A figure appeared above Ling Xiao's head and easily grabbed the myriad Tao golden core from Ling Xiao's body. It was a middle-aged man with a dignified expression. He wore a black robe and had a heroic figure. He exuded a powerful aura around him. He grabbed the myriad Tao golden core, and his eyes, which were as calm as an ancient well, were filled with excitement. Above his head, the wordless heavenly book floated in the air. Streams of mysterious aura surged into his body, making him stronger and stronger. It was as though he had formed a mysterious resonance with the wordless heavenly book. You are the Scarlet Dragon War God. Ling Xiao's body shook and his eyes were filled with disbelief. The black-robed middle-aged man in front of him was exactly the same as the Scarlet Dragon War God. Ling Xiao had inherited the Scarlet Dragon War God and had seen the portrait of the Scarlet Dragon War God in the War God Temple. Hadn't the Scarlet Dragon War God died 1,000,000 years ago? He was still alive. Looking at the wordless heavenly book floating above the Scarlet Dragon War God's head, Ling Xiao took a deep look at him and said, "Should I call you the Scarlet Dragon War God or the device spirit of the wordless heavenly book?" It went without saying. The black-robed middle-aged man in front of him could completely mobilize the power of the wordless heavenly book and even hide from Ling Xiao's perception. What else could he be but the device spirit of the wordless heavenly book? However, Ling Xiao had never thought that the device spirit of the wordless heavenly book was hidden in his body. The device spirit of the wordless heavenly book. Damn it! Hand over the myriad Tao golden core. The primal Chaos Emperor and the other three supreme beings were all trembling. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Rumble. They launched a powerful attack, and a blazing light beam seemed to be able to penetrate everything, constantly bombarding the barrier. However, the barrier was condensed from an unknown force. Although it was trembling, it blocked the attacks of the four supreme beings and was difficult to break. My good disciple, thanks to you, I finally got the myriad Tao golden elixir. A million years of planning was not in vain. Ha ha ha. The Scarlet Dragon War God's mouth let out an incomparably carefree laugh. Boom. 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 As his body emitted a dazzling light, a powerful figure emerged one after another around him. Although these figures were somewhat vague and not even solid, they were incomparably powerful, which made Ling Xiao's heart palpitate. They were all shrouded in the mysterious light of origin. Some were covered in purple qi, containing the primordial qi, some exuded the aura of the 3,000 great Tao origins, some exuded the fluctuations of creation, and some exuded the aura of endless slaughter, including the Scarlet Dragon War God. A total of 10 figures emerged, each exuding an incomparably terrifying aura, no weaker than a great emperor expert. Moreover, above their heads, there were jade plates, beads, cauldrons, and pagodas. Ling Xiao almost instantly recognized that there were fortune jade plates, primordial beads, fortune cauldrons, longevity pagoda. Those were the legendary 10 great chaos treasures. The 10 figures were naturally the spirits of the 10 great chaos treasures. In addition to the Scarlet Dragon War God, the other 9 figures bowed slightly to the Scarlet Dragon War God to show their respect. The power emitted by the 10 figures was incomparably terrifying and mysterious. It was the source of the spirit formation that blocked the 4 supreme experts, preventing them from entering. I expected the textless heavenly book's spirit to take action, but I didn't expect it to be the Scarlet Dragon War God. I have one thing I don't understand. How did you hide in my body so that I couldn't know? Ling Xiao stared at the Scarlet Dragon War God in front of him and said slowly. Good disciple, since you have doubts, of course Master will solve them for you. Have you forgotten how you were reborn? The Scarlet Dragon War God looked at Ling Xiao and smiled faintly. Reborn? The Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead, and the textless heavenly book. Ling Xiao's body trembled, as if he had thought of something, and a trace of sharpness appeared in his eyes. Back then, he was killed by the Supreme True Dragon, because the Supreme True Dragon coveted the Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead. Ling Xiao was reborn 10,000 years later because the textless heavenly book protected his true spirit, but the Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead was gone. Ling Xiao originally thought that the Scarlet Dragon War God's Godhead had been destroyed long ago. But now it seemed that not only was the Godhead not destroyed, but it existed in his body in a strange way, and he couldn't detect it. That's right. I didn't hide in the textless heavenly book, but in the Godhead. When you were reborn, the Godhead had merged with your flesh and blood and primordial spirit, becoming a part of you. It can be said that I am you, and you are me. We were originally one, how could you find me? The Scarlet Dragon War God smiled faintly. So, you know everything that happened to me, and most of it was your doing? Ling Xiao said calmly, as if he wasn't angry at being used. That's right. I know everything about you. We were originally one. So whether you condensed a doppelganger or embarked on the path of 10,000 Tao unification, I knew it all. Although I have been plotting for so many years, I didn't expect you to succeed and condense a myriad Tao golden core. For countless eras, I have plotted countless times, but all of them failed. I didn't expect that I would succeed on you. My good disciple, for the sake of condensing a myriad Tao golden core for me, submit to me, and I can spare your life, how about it? The Scarlet Dragon War God looked at Ling Xiao and smiled faintly. Can you block the 4 sovereigns and the Flowing Time Emperor? Ling Xiao asked. The only thing that I am afraid of is the reincarnation Great Emperor. But now, he can't do anything at all. These pieces of trash only have strength, they don't understand what the real Great Tao is. When I transcend, they will all die. If you submit to me, after I transcend, you will be the master of this world, how about it? The Scarlet Dragon War God smiled faintly, waiting for Ling Xiao's answer. Chapter 3356. What if I don't agree? Ling Xiao stared at Scarlet Dragon War God and said slowly. He once regarded Scarlet Dragon War God as his master. If it weren't for Scarlet Dragon War God, he wouldn't have been able to live a second life and even obtained a powerful inheritance and fortune. But now, he found that all of this was arranged by Scarlet Dragon War God. The true identity of Scarlet Dragon War God was the tool spirit of the wordless heavenly book, the terrifying existence that had devoured countless heaven's prides. If you don't agree, you can only die. Scarlet Dragon War God smiled indifferently. Since you and I are one, are you sure you can kill me? Ling Xiao asked, with a hint of sharpness in his eyes. You and I are one, but I can pull away at any time. Ling Xiao, give up resistance. Everything you have is given to you by me. How can you fight with me? Scarlet Dragon War God said indifferently. I want to try. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked straight at Scarlet Dragon War God. His eyes were blazing with a trace of unyielding fighting spirit, which made his whole body exude a mysterious and terrifying aura. Overconfident. The Scarlet Dragon War God shook his head and pointed at Ling Xiao. Life reversing technique, deprive. The indifferent and majestic voice, like the law of heaven, exuded an irresistible fluctuation. Boom! A rune bloomed from Ling Xiao's body, like a chain of order, shrouded his whole body and spread towards Scarlet Dragon War God. Ling Xiao's origin of the Grand Tao, boundless laws, powerful origin of life, flesh and blood, and even his immortal primordial spirit were extracted and sent to War God's Scarlet Dragon. Ling Xiao's whole body began to weaken at a speed visible to the naked eye, and Scarlet Dragon War God's original illusory figure began to solidify. Rumble. Scarlet Dragon War God's body exuded an ancient, mysterious and immortal fluctuation, and there was a vast Emperor's aura gushing out. It was a kind of heaven and earth destruction, but I am immortal, and all living things decay. In the end, most of Ling Xiao's cultivation and power were almost completely deprived by Scarlet Dragon War God and integrated into his body. Ling Xiao's flesh and blood dissipated, leaving only a crystal skeleton. The immortal spirit in his sea of consciousness became incomparably dim, and his whole body was like a lamp without oil. However, the connection between him and Myriad Tao Golden Core had not been severed. If the Scarlet Dragon War God wanted to completely refine the Myriad Tao Jin Dan, he had to make Ling Xiao give up voluntarily or kill Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, your 10,000 years of cultivation and boundless fortune have already become my wedding dress. What right do you have to fight me? Are you going to surrender? Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes. There was a strong murderous intent. They had reached the point where they had to make their final choice. He was waiting for Ling Xiao's answer. If Ling Xiao still chose to refuse, the only result would be death, spirit. Ti Xiao Dragon Heaven. Dark Ling Xiao roared again and again. His eyes were full of disbelief, and his whole person became incomparably crazy. He was surrounded by a monstrous devil chi, a chaotic mist rose, and the blood-red light condensed into a vast sea of blood, as if it could bury everything. Dark Ling Xiao's whole person became incomparably crazy. Blocked by the powerful boundary formed by the weapon spirits of the textless heavenly book and the other ultimate chaos treasures, Primal Chaos Emperor and the others stopped attacking Dark Soaring Sky and Faith Soaring Sky. Instead, they kept attacking the boundary in an attempt to break in. We didn't expect that the spirit of the textless heavenly book would merge with Ling Xiao, or that Ling Xiao is the spirit of the textless heavenly book. Now he can only rely on himself. If he can break out of this situation, then you and I may be able to help him one last time. Faith Ling Xiao's eyes flickered, and thoughts kept appearing in his mind. He stared at Dark Ling Xiao and said seriously. Even Faith Ling Xiao, who had always been meticulous, was worried at this moment. The spirit of the textless heavenly book was too powerful, and it had been planning for countless years for this Myriad Tao Golden Core. How could there be a loophole? How could Ling Xiao break out of this situation? I choose to refuse. Ling Xiao's indifferent and firm voice sounded. Very well. In that case, I will bestow upon you death. Scarlet Dragon War God stared at Ling Xiao and smiled faintly, with a trace of admiration in his eyes. At this moment, Ling Xiao was still able to hold on to his heart, showing that his Dao heart was indeed incomparably strong, even surpassing that of many great emperors. For such a person, death was the best ending. Boom! Scarlet Dragon War God's palm rose with a faint chaotic light, as if it could devour everything. That was the sky-devouring fire. Scarlet Dragon War God had taken away almost all of Ling Xiao's power, including the 12 sky arts, the 108 heavenly spirits and earthly fiends, his sky-devouring fire, and all kinds of divine abilities and secret techniques. Now, Scarlet Dragon War God was going to use the sky-devouring fire to kill Ling Xiao. Outside the barrier, the Chaos Emperor, the Destiny Emperor, the Karma Emperor, and the Flowing Time Emperor all looked extremely anxious. They attacked the barrier madly, causing it to tremble violently as if it was about to shatter. Darkness Ling Xiao and Faith Ling Xiao were full of worry. The scene in front of them was already a hopeless situation. Could there really be a miracle? Device Spirit, you just used the fate-reversing art to deprive me of my power, right? But do you really think that what you used is the real fate-reversing art? Ling Xiao suddenly raised his head, his eyes calm, with a hint of mockery. What? Scarlet Dragon War God's expression changed slightly, as if he suddenly thought of something. You do know everything about me. But the only thing you don't know is that the fate-reversing art you used is not the real one. Ling Xiao shouted indifferently. Rumble. Within Ling Xiao's body, it was as if a chaotic black hole had appeared. Vast and mysterious energy gushed out in all directions. As his voice fell, the sky-devouring fire flying towards him was instantly devoured by the chaotic black hole in his body. A mysterious, ancient, majestic, vast and terrifying aura broke out in an instant. Between Ling Xiao and Scarlet Dragon War God, the divine chains of order shone brightly in an instant. The ancient power flowed along the divine chains of order and instantly poured into Scarlet Dragon War God's body, like a seal and bounded domain, enveloping him. Boom! Scarlet Dragon War God's power and cultivation, and even all the fortune he had deprived from Ling Xiao, all reversed and poured into Ling Xiao's body. This power was even more violent and tyrannical, terrifying to the extreme. In an instant, not only did Ling Xiao's cultivation and strength recover, but even the origin energy that the Scarlet Dragon War God had accumulated over countless epochs began to pour into Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao's aura became more and more terrifying. His body was actually like a divine mountain that reached the heavens, and began to expand rapidly. 1 zhang. 1 zhang. 100 zhang. 1000 zhang. 100 zhang. Ling Xiao's body, like a chaotic fiend god in antiquity times, was surrounded by endless chaotic light, mysterious and immortal, full of terrifying power fluctuations. What? This is impossible. Ling Xiao, you've been plotting against me ever since we were in the Transcendence Scroll. You've been sealing the real-life reversing technique, and the life-reversing technique you've been using is an incomplete version. Scarlet Dragon War God trembled, his eyes full of disbelief. He knew everything in an instant. He and Ling Xiao were one, so he naturally knew what happened to Ling Xiao. There was only one thing he didn't know. That was the Transcendence Scroll. When Ling Xiao entered the Transcendence Scroll and inherited the secret of the Transcendence Scroll sealed everything. Even Scarlet Dragon War God's consciousness had sunk into oblivion. Later, Ling Xiao came out of the Transcendence Scroll, killed several great emperors, and displayed the Defying Fate skill. Its power was heaven-defying to the extreme, far surpassing the incomplete version obtained by Scarlet Dragon War God. Scarlet Dragon War God thought it was the real Defying Fate skill. He didn't expect that Ling Xiao had been scheming against him since then. This was the first time Ling Xiao used the real Defying Fate skill. Yes. This is the real-life reversing technique. Artifact spirit, you and I are one, so your power is naturally my power. Give it all to me. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Rumble. His voice was like thunder. His whole person had turned into a giant hundreds of millions of feet tall, standing indomitable, stepping on the starry sky. Chaotic light rose around him, dazzling runes made the void tremble constantly, as if it would collapse at any time. Almost in an instant, the device spirit of the wordless heavenly book had lost an era's cultivation. Even if it's the real defying fate skill, so what? If you were a transcendent, I would respect you. You haven't transcended, so you can't change your fate today. Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes flashed with a trace of fierce light, staring at Ling Xiao coldly. Boom! His palm was covered with a layer of void fire, turning into a flaming saber light that seemed to be able to destroy everything. In an instant, it slashed toward him and Ling Xiao. Clang! The saber light was unparalleled, and the void fire seemed to cut off some kind of connection between Ling Xiao and Scarlet Dragon War God. In an instant, the void shook violently, heaven and earth were destroyed, and hundreds of millions of divine lights bloomed at the same time. The endless source of the great Tao collapsed and turned into a turbulent sea. Ling Xiao felt that the connection between him and Scarlet Dragon War God was cut off in an instant. An unimaginable pain surged throughout his body, as if his spirit was torn apart again. Ling Xiao could not help but groan, and a trace of bright red blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Ah, puff! Scarlet Dragon War God trembled violently, spitting out a mouthful of golden blood, and his aura became a little weak. Brother, are you all right? A Taoist with the good fortune jade disc on his head quickly supported Scarlet Dragon War God and asked with some concern. It's okay. Fellow Taoists, today help me refine the myriad Tao golden core and completely transcend. In the future, I will help you get rid of your destiny and become immortal. Scarlet Dragon War God wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said to the 9 illusory figures behind him in a deep voice. Brother, don't worry, we will help you seize the myriad Tao golden core. We are innate spirits, born of chaos, and should be the masters of this world. They, the postnatal creatures, dare to steal the authority of the heavenly Tao. They all deserve to die. The figure of the longevity tower said indifferently, revealing a murderous intent. Ling Xiao, although you stole my power, you still have to die today. Scarlet Dragon War God said coldly, his eyes were incomparably cold, and his whole body exuded a monstrous killing intent. Kill! Ling Xiao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and the corner of his mouth revealed a sneer. His eyes were surging with fighting spirit, and in an instant, he punched towards Scarlet Dragon War God. You overestimate yourself. Scarlet Dragon War God's blazing divine light bloomed in an instant. It was as if an ancient world emerged from the endless void. Terrifying monstrous power broke out. He crossed the sky and slammed his palm towards Ling Xiao. The mysterious palm print, in an instant, traversed hundreds of millions of miles of the void, as if covering the entire primitive continent. Even if Ling Xiao had a huge body, he was still instantly enveloped by this palm. Chapter 3357. Boom! In the endless chaotic void above the untainted land, it was as if 10,000 suns had exploded at the same time. The dazzling light made all the living beings who raised their heads to look up at this moment as if they had been blinded. All they could see was a vast expanse of whiteness. Ling Xiao's body trembled violently and was sent flying by the Scarlet Dragon War God's palm. Crack! At this moment, the 4 great emperors, Chaos, Fate, Karma, and Time, broke through the boundary and rushed over. Weapon spirit of the textless book, how dare you steal my myriad Tao golden core? You're courting death. The Chaos Emperor's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He shouted angrily and threw a chaotic fist print at the Scarlet Dragon War God. You're just an ant that's dragging out an ignoble existence. How dare you be impudent in front of me? The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes flashed fiercely and he slapped out. There seemed to be 3,000 great Tao rising in his palm, intertwining into a mysterious great Tao domain. Crack! The chaos fist seal shattered in an instant. Accompanied by blazing lightning and flames, the Scarlet Dragon War God smashed the Chaos Emperor's fist seal with one palm. Then, without slowing down, the Scarlet Dragon War God slapped the Chaos Emperor's face. Slap! A crisp sound rang out as the primal Chaos Emperor was sent flying. What? Everyone was stunned. They did not expect that the Chaos Emperor was no match for the Scarlet Dragon War God and was sent flying. Moreover, the slap landed directly on the Scarlet Dragon War God's cheek. What kind of humiliation was that? Weapon spirit, I'm going to kill you. The Chaos Emperor roared, his eyes full of monstrous anger and killing intent. He was about to explode. He thought that he was the leader of the four great sovereigns and had never put anyone in his eyes. Now, he was slapped by the weapon spirit of the textless book. This was a great humiliation. You? The Scarlet Dragon War God sneered, his eyes full of disdain. Boom! Countless rays of divine light rose up behind him, surging like a vast wave. It instantly enveloped the surroundings, enveloping everyone. At this moment, the attacks of the Fate, Karma, and Time Emperors were all drowned by the huge wave. The divine light was like a sea, surging and rising. In the vast sea, the figures of the Scarlet Dragon War Gods appeared in an instant, constantly rushing towards the four of them. Scarlet Dragon War God displayed an incomparably heaven-defying battle prowess. Like the incarnation of the heavenly Tao, he casually displayed the 3,000 great Tao origins, all kinds of supreme paragon techniques, and supreme divine abilities, constantly attacking the four great emperors. Even though Hun Dun, Fate, Karma, and Time possessed heaven-defying strength, they were still besieged and unable to break free. Kill them! Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were incomparably cold as he pointed at Primal Chaos Emperor and the other three. Yes! Behind him, the 9 artifact spirits roared in agreement. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent as they charged toward the Primal Chaos Emperor and the others. Rumble! The Fortune Jade Disc swept across the void, the Hong Meng beads sprinkled down billions of strands of purple chi like a supreme star, the Fortune Cauldron refined everything, the Longevity Tower suppressed Wuji, and the Sky-burying Coffin buried heaven and earth. Under the support of the artifact spirits, the 9 supreme chaos treasures erupted with world-destroying power. They attacked at the same time, forming a terrifying array that trapped the Primal Chaos Emperor and the others in an instant. Hiss! The artifact spirits of the textless heavenly book are actually so fierce. Darkness Ling Xiao gasped, his eyes filled with disbelief. You're right. The Chaos Emperor, the Fate Emperor, the Karma Emperor, and the Flowing Time Emperor. The 4 of them combined were enough to dominate the world. Even the legendary Reincarnation Emperor wouldn't dare to say that he could win against the 4 of them. However, the 4 of them, in the hands of the Scarlet Dragon War God, seemed to have no power to fight back and fell into an absolute disadvantage. Now, the 9 supreme chaos treasures erupted with unparalleled divine power that was far more powerful than the epic emperors. They besieged the 4 of them crazily. The textless heavenly book is the leader of the 10 supreme chaos treasures. Its artifact spirit obtained a great opportunity in the First Era because of the destruction of the textless heavenly book. Since 108 eras ago, he's been ceaselessly devouring geniuses and obtaining the fortune of the universe. His strength has probably reached an unimaginable level. So, it's understandable that the Chaotic Emperor and the others aren't a match for him. Faith Ling Xiao said slowly. What should we do now? I'm afraid I'm no match for him. Darkness Ling Xiao said in a deep voice. Even though his character was arrogant and unruly, but at this moment, he looked at the Scarlet Dragon War God with a dignified expression. The strength that Scarlet Dragon War God had unleashed was just too terrifying. Are you afraid of death? Faith Ling Xiao asked. Nonsense, of course I don't want to die. It wasn't easy to get rid of Ling Xiao. I haven't enjoyed my time with his saintesses and demonesses yet. Wouldn't it be a pity if they were to die like this? Darkness Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and said, I'm not afraid. Although I'm separated from Ling Xiao now, the meaning of my existence is to live for Ling Xiao. Therefore, it's my destiny to die for him. Faith Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. His eyes were extremely calm as if there were no ripples. Fuck his destiny. What's destiny? I've never accepted my destiny. I'm not willing to die for Ling Xiao. Are you really going to drag me to my death? Darkness Ling Xiao snorted coldly. Will you stay with me? Faith Ling Xiao looked at Darkness Ling Xiao and said with a smile. Bah, I'm not made of glass. But who asked Ling Xiao to give me my life? If I die, then so be it. Anyway, I've repaid him with my life. I've made a profit. Darkness Ling Xiao turned his head away and said proudly. In the words of the human race, you're hard on the mouth but soft on the heart. Faith Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Rumble. Just as the two of them were talking, Scarlet Dragon War God had repelled Hun Dun and the other three. His indifferent and sharp eyes fell on Ling Xiao. Now, no one can stop you from killing me. Kill me, and you'll have a chance to transcend. If you can't kill me, then you'll die. Scarlet Dragon War God said indifferently. Boom. 3,000 great Tao intertwined around him, and the divine chains of order bloomed with dazzling brilliance in an instant. Like tentacles, they wrapped around Ling Xiao. At the same time, behind the Scarlet Dragon War God, the wordless heavenly book shone brilliantly. The 108 secret techniques of the Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend formed 108 mysterious boundaries. At the same time, the Scarlet Dragon War God's body exuded a kind of invulnerable fluctuation. Let's fight. Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably sharp, and his whole body's fighting spirit rose. He threw a punch towards Scarlet Dragon War God. He had just stolen Scarlet Dragon War God's cultivation with the Defying Fate technique. Now, his whole body was full of explosive power. A casual punch seemed to be able to penetrate the chaos and recreate the era. Not enough power. Scarlet Dragon War God said lightly, and also threw a punch toward Ling Xiao. His epical fist was actually different from Ling Xiao's. However, with the support of the 3,000 Great Path origins, his epical fist seemed to have an additional heavenly Tao divine might. Boom! Ling Xiao's fists collided, and the void exploded. Ling Xiao's arm exploded into a bloody mist, and his whole body flew backward. Scarlet Dragon War God seemed to have absolute power. When his fist fell, heaven and earth were destroyed, chaos was opened, gods and demons fell, and the great Tao came out. Ling Xiao's body, which he was proud of, was as fragile as a baby in front of Scarlet Dragon War God. Is this the difference between you and me? Ling Xiao murmured. His eyes were calm, and he didn't seem to hesitate in the slightest. The power of transcendence rose up, making him seem even more ethereal and unfathomable. It was as if Ling Xiao had disappeared from heaven and earth. As a fateless one, he was free from the constraints of fate. His aura was incredibly powerful, and a dazzling light of fate shot towards Scarlet Dragon War God. Ling Xiao didn't waste his strength in the face of Scarlet Dragon War God. Instead, he used the Defying Fate technique. The mysterious light of destiny seemed to envelop the entire untainted land. The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes revealed a trace of solemnity. Scarlet Dragon War God knew everything about Ling Xiao. He knew all of his divine abilities, secret magics, and precious techniques. But the Defying Fate technique had been left behind by a transcendent, and it filled him with dread. Eternal Tao of Heaven. The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were incomparably sharp, and he suddenly shouted, his whole body was blazing with dazzling brilliance. The essence of 3,000 great Taos converged on him, and a mysterious will seemed to awaken within him, pulsing with eternal, deathless fluctuations. The light of fate blasted into Scarlet Dragon War God, causing boundless godlight to erupt. Strands of divine order intertwined, causing heaven and earth to tremble violently. Scarlet Dragon War God trembled, and his true spirit seemed to be on the verge of being sucked out by the defying fate technique. But then the power of the Tao of Heaven exploded, shattering the light of fate. Scarlet Dragon War God grunted, then flew backward. Cough, cough. Ling Xiao coughed, blood oozing out of the corners of his mouth. His aura was weak, and his eyes shone with exhaustion. Using the defying fate technique at full power was a huge burden on him, and he had suffered a significant backlash. That's the power of a transcendent, Scarlet Dragon War God said coldly. You haven't transcended, and I have the myriad Daos gold core. How many times can you use the defying fate technique on your own? Scarlet Dragon War God said coldly. Boom. His palm shot out horizontally like a blazing blade, instantly shattering the protective divine light around Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's body shook violently, and he was almost cut in half. His entire body was sent flying. Chapter 33:58. I can't take it anymore. Darkness. Ling Xiao roared, his eyes full of anger and killing intent. In an instant, his whole body was covered with bloodlight, and the infinite demonic armor erupted with 100 times the power. A blood-red fist print instantly suppressed the Scarlet Dragon War God. Condense. Faith. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and his mouth whispered. Like the laws of heaven and earth, in an instant, endless human races' destiny gathered, forming a mysterious chaotic ancient seal above his head. Suppress. With the command of Faith Ling Xiao, the chaotic ancient seal was like a supreme divine mountain, majestic and mighty, falling towards the Scarlet Dragon War God. Overconfident. The Scarlet Dragon War God said lightly and pointed his finger. His sparkling and translucent finger radiance was like a heavenly pillar that pierced through the heavens and earth. In an instant, it collided with the dark and bloody fist. Boom! The bloody fist print exploded, and the world shook. The finger light did not diminish and fell on Darkness Ling Xiao's chest. The infinite demonic armor bloomed with a blazing light in an instant, endless demon chi rose, and mysterious runes intertwined, as if reaching the limit of its endurance, it instantly collapsed. Darkness Ling Xiao trembled violently as if he was struck by lightning. He coughed up blood and flew back. The infinite demonic armor on his body became a little dim. This was an extremely powerful armor, the supreme treasure of the demon ancestor. It had once brought unlimited help to Dark Soaring Firmament, but it was damaged by a single blow from the Scarlet Dragon War God. Facing the chaotic ancient seal condensed by the endless power of destiny, the Scarlet Dragon War God punched out, and the chaotic light exploded. Kacha! Cracks appeared on the primal chaos ancient seal, and then it collapsed in the void. Faith Ling Xiao suffered a powerful backlash. He spat out a mouthful of golden blood, and his whole body was sent flying. Scarlet Dragon War God easily dealt heavy damage to Dark Soaring Firmament and Faith Soaring Firmament. I have to say that your two avatars have unlimited potential and are extremely talented. But your mistake is that you shouldn't have let them reach the Sovereign Realm first. If you had chosen to devour them when they reached the Sovereign Realm, you might have been able to completely transcend and refine the Myriad Path Golden Core before anyone could react. Scarlet Dragon War God said indifferently. Bullshit. Stop trying to sow discord here. You're just a mere artifact spirit, so how can you understand the myriad of living beings? You're just a thief who has some power and stole the power of the heavenly Tao. How dare you spout nonsense here? Darkness Ling Xiao cursed loudly. His eyes were filled with an incomparably tyrannical look. Faith Ling Xiao said calmly, although you are strong, it is not that easy to kill Ling Xiao and refine the Myriad Tao Golden Core. Although I'm just a clone, I still want to fight you to the death. His words were very calm, but there was a decisiveness that moved people. The two of you don't have to do this. Hurry up and leave. He only wants to kill me. If you leave now, you still have a chance to survive. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly, but there was a trace of warmth in his heart. Leave now. Ling Xiao, I also want to leave right now, but you've caused such a huge mess, and you still need me to clean up after you. If I don't clean you up, how can I go back and dote on my women in peace? Stop talking nonsense and think about how to solve the current predicament. Darkness Ling Xiao snorted coldly. If you want to solve the current predicament, you can only take back the myriad Tao golden core from the Scarlet Dragon War God and let Ling Xiao transcend. Faith Ling Xiao said slowly. I'm afraid that's just a dream. Darkness Ling Xiao shook his head. The myriad Tao golden core had fallen into the hands of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Not to mention them, even the Chaotic Emperor and the others had no confidence in taking it back. Since you all want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The Scarlet Dragon War God said indifferently. Boom! Divine light blazed around him, and the heavenly might was vast and mighty, like the sea, shrouding the void in all directions. A series of divine chains of order wrapped around Ling Xiao and the others, wanting to shroud them in it. Moreover, there was a mysterious flame rising in the divine light, blooming with 9 colors of light, as if it could refine everything. It was incomparably terrifying. Kill! Killing intent blazed in Ling Xiao's eyes. He suddenly roared and punched out across the sky. The unparalleled fist print, containing the belief of victory, as well as the resolute and cold killing intent, blasted down mightily. The fist stirred up tens of thousands of waves, and the blazing divine light dissipated. However, the divine chains of order pierced through everything and possessed incomparably terrifying power. In an instant, they collided with Ling Xiao's fist print and smashed it into pieces. Puff! 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 The divine chains of order instantly pierced through the chests of Ling Xiao, Darkness Ling Xiao, and Faith Ling Xiao. It was extremely fierce. Even though Darkness Ling Xiao was wearing the infinite demonic armor and had endless power of fortune from Faith Ling Xiao, he still could not resist the power of the divine chains of order. Refine! The Scarlet Dragon War God roared. Suddenly, the sky-devouring fire emerged, enveloping Ling Xiao and the others, and began to refine them. The sky-devouring fire, supported by the 3,000 Great Path origins, seemed to contain a kind of power that could burn everything, causing Ling Xiao and the others to tremble and feel a fatal threat. Open! Ling Xiao roared. An unparalleled palm print slashed down like a blade, trying to cut through the divine chains of order in his body. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions. The divine chains of order, as if cast in divine gold, were solid and immortal. Ling Xiao could not cut them at all. Darkness Ling Xiao and Faith Ling Xiao also used various means and divine abilities, but they could not break free. Moreover, their cultivation and strength were constantly being devoured by the Scarlet Dragon War God. Don't waste your energy. Unless you have the power to transcend the heavenly way, you can only die. The Scarlet Dragon War God said indifferently. As the strength and vitality of Ling Xiao and the others were devoured, the myriad Tao golden core in his palm began to bloom with dazzling light. The strength of Ling Xiao and the others was used by the Scarlet Dragon War God to nourish the myriad Tao golden core. The myriad Tao golden core looked like a golden sun. It was sparkling and translucent, and it seemed to contain an incomparably mysterious world. 3,000 great Tao laws intertwined and fused into a mysterious origin energy flow, emitting an immortal aura. Looking at the myriad Tao golden core in his palm, the Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were full of expectation. Damn it! Let's attack together and break this origin sea. We must not let him get the myriad Tao golden core. Chaos Emperor saw this scene and his eyes were filled with horror and anger. He roared repeatedly. Kill! The Flowing Time Emperor, Karma Emperor, and Destiny Emperor all showed killing intent in their eyes. Blazing divine light rose around them as they tried to rush out of the origin sea. For a moment, the 9 weapon spirits shuddered violently. To think that they could barely suppress these 4 utmost powerful beings. Faith, Ling Xiao can't die. Darkness Ling Xiao was penetrated by the divine chains of order and suffered endless pain. His strength and vitality were constantly being devoured, but he was still incomparably cold and cruel. At this moment, he suddenly transmitted his voice to Faith Ling Xiao. Have you thought it through? Faith Ling Xiao said softly. I don't want to die, but who asked me to owe him my life? Just treat it as paying him back. Darkness Ling Xiao said with a wry smile. Boom. As soon as his voice fell, the demonic light around him rose, and the source powers intertwined. A mysterious flame rose, and it actually dispersed the sky-devouring fire in an instant. It began to envelop the dark sky and burn fiercely. Ha ha ha. Ling Xiao, I've lived for so long, and I've made a fortune. Today, I'll return this life to you. Dark Ling Xiao laughed loudly. His voice was extremely carefree, and his eyes were filled with an untamed expression. He stared at Ling Xiao with a complicated gaze, but in the end, it became incomparably open-minded and relieved. It also contained a strong reluctance and endless expectations. Flames rose around his body. Even his flesh, his essence, his primordial spirit, his everything was burning. It was reflected in his eyes. There was even an ancient and mysterious bone that exuded an endless essence aura. As darkness Ling Xiao burned, his power began to fly toward Ling Xiao in an incomparably strange way. What sorrow is there in life? What bitterness is there in death? Joy and sorrow in autumn, all return to dust. Ling Xiao, I'm going, good luck. Faith Ling Xiao also calmly glanced at Ling Xiao. A mysterious light gushed out from his body, and then endless flames burned fiercely. He sat cross-legged in the flames, his face calm, without sorrow or joy. He had a kind of tranquil and indifferent power. His cultivation and everything about him flew towards Ling Xiao. Like fallen leaves flying to the earth. Life returned to dust, but it turned into eternity. No. Ling Xiao's body shook violently, his eyes instantly became incomparably blood-red, and he let out a heart-wrenching roar. He didn't expect Darkness Ling Xiao and Faith Ling Xiao to choose such a way, to burn themselves to dust and return to their origin. Darkness Ling Xiao and Faith Ling Xiao were all avatars condensed from Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. Although they had now become emperors and cut off the connection with Ling Xiao, the three of them were still like one. They chose to give up their lives and burn themselves to dust with the fire of life, returning their cultivation, life, and all their power to Ling Xiao. Even the Scarlet Dragon War God couldn't stop this process. However, Ling Xiao had never regarded them as avatars. They were two living people with their own joys and sorrows, their own dreams and pursuits. They were avatars, but not just avatars. They were Ling Xiao's brothers and friends. Now, for the sake of Ling Xiao, they had all chosen to return to the void and become one with Ling Xiao once again. However, Ling Xiao felt a heart-wrenching pain and a deep sense of powerlessness. Ah! Ling Xiao suddenly looked up to the sky and roared. His roar resounded through the void like thunder, and 2 lines of blood tears flowed silently from his eyes. Ling Xiao's whole body rose with bloody light, his black hair fluttered, an endless evil spirit and killing intent condensed like a monstrous demonic light. Darkness Ling Xiao and Faith Ling Xiao turned into ashes in the flames, and a terrifying power erupted from Ling Xiao's body like a tsunami. Rumble. Dazzling light suddenly gushed out from his limbs and bones, and endless divine power erupted. He grabbed the divine chain of order that pierced through his chest with both hands, and then suddenly pulled. Crack! The indestructible divine chain of order collapsed inch by inch in an instant. Blazing light gushed out all around, as if the world had been broken. The supreme killing intent, like a substance, tore apart the surrounding origin sea. I'm going to kill you. Ling Xiao suddenly raised his head, his hair fluttering wildly, his evil spirit monstrous, his blood-red eyes fixed on the Scarlet Dragon War God, and he let out a bone-chilling roar. Chapter 33:59. Boom! Above Ling Xiao's head, a blazing beam of light instantly rushed into the sky, as if breaking the shackles of heaven and earth, vast and magnificent to the extreme. Darkness Ling Xiao and Faith Ling Xiao chose to return to the void, returning to the origin. After the power returned to Ling Xiao's strength instantly skyrocketed by 10 times. In an instant, the surrounding void began to distort violently. Under Ling Xiao's extreme anger, his aura became incomparably violent. In an instant, an unparalleled fist print pressed down, full of hatred, anger, and killing intent, wanting to kill the Scarlet Dragon War God. After the fusion of the avatars, the power has become so strong. Ling Xiao, it seems that I really underestimated you. Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were full of admiration, and there was a strong fighting spirit around his body. If the previous Ling Xiao was just an ant at his mercy, he could crush him at any time, but now Ling Xiao had turned into a tiger in an instant, which posed a big threat to him. He did not have the slightest carelessness, and suddenly the wordless heavenly book spun towards Ling Xiao. The wordless heavenly book exuded an ancient and mysterious aura, which seemed to contain a mysterious devouring domain, wanting to devour Ling Xiao completely. Get out of my way. Ling Xiao's eyes were sharp, revealing his killing intent, and suddenly roared, his fist print slammed into the wordless heavenly book. Boom! The wordless heavenly book trembled violently, and a rune burst into pieces, blooming a blazing brilliance, and an unparalleled divine power erupted, directly blasting Ling Xiao away. Ling Xiao's speed was extremely fast, and in an instant, he arrived in front of Scarlet Dragon War God. Kill! Ling Xiao was mad with hatred, his fighting spirit soaring to the sky, his killing intent boiling, and a vast and fierce fist print constantly pressed down on Scarlet Dragon War God. The fist prints were like meteorites, fierce and vast, powerful to the extreme. After the fusion of the power of the two avatars, Ling Xiao's body seemed to have broken through a certain limit, and every punch seemed to be able to break the void and suppress everything. This was to prove one's Dao through strength. In addition, at this moment, Ling Xiao's killing intent was extremely strong, and his battle strength was extremely powerful. Even Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes revealed a dignified color. Rumble. Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God exchanged thousands of blows in an instant. Every single strike was like a comet crashing into the ground. It radiated with devastating energy ripples, causing the surrounding space to tremble violently. The Scarlet Dragon War God was surrounded by 108 boundaries, all of which were transformed from the secret technique origin of the wordless heavenly book. They possessed a formidable defensive power. However, Ling Xiao's physical body was unparalleled. Every time he attacked, he could destroy a large number of enchantments. The wordless heavenly book shook violently as if it was about to reach its limit. What? There was a look of disbelief in Primal Chaos Emperor's eyes. He originally thought that Ling Xiao would soon fall in the hands of the Scarlet Dragon War God, and the myriad Dao Golden Dan would also fall into the hands of the Scarlet Dragon War God, but he didn't expect such a change. After Ling Xiao merged with the two avatars, the heaven-defying fighting strength that he had unleashed caused him to tremble in fear. His gaze was incomparably solemn. This is a good chance. Everyone, let's attack together. When Ling Xiao and the artifact spirits are both injured, we'll kill both of them. At that time, we'll use our own means to snatch the myriad Dao Golden Dan. What do you think? The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes lit up. He suddenly transmitted his voice to the three emperors, Chaos, Destiny, and Karma. Okay. Primal Chaos Emperor agreed without hesitation. Okay. The Destiny Emperor pondered for a moment and agreed. No matter who gets the myriad Dao Golden Dan, we won't have a good ending. In that case, let's attack together. The Karma Emperor said slowly. Rumble. On the surface, it seemed that the four of them were still fighting with the 9 artifact spirits. The battle was incomparably fierce, and it was difficult to tell who had the upper hand. But in fact, the four of them were already accumulating strength, ready to erupt with a shocking blow at any time. This battle caused the sun and moon to dim and the heavens and earth to change. Although they were in the endless chaotic void, far away from the Eldritch continent, the shockwaves from the battle still caused the Eldritch continent to tremble violently, as though it was about to be shattered. Many of the supreme experts witnessed this shocking battle. Each of them was incomparably shocked, and their eyes were filled with horror. The 3 sovereigns of Chaos, Destiny, and Karma are about to arrive. The Flowing Time Emperor has appeared. Now, the textless book and the other chaos treasures have appeared as well. In order to snatch the myriad Tao Golden Dan, they've gone crazy. Nonsense, that's the myriad Tao Golden Dan. If it were you, you'd go crazy too. Whoever gets the myriad Tao Golden Dan will be able to transcend and dominate the world. He'll be invincible in the Eldritch continent. It's just a pity for the Demon Master and the Emperor of Faith. Although they're Ling Xiao's doppelgangers, they're not any weaker than Ling Xiao. To think that they'd fall just like that. You can't say that they've fallen. They've merged with Ling Xiao as one. Otherwise, how could Ling Xiao have such strong strength to fight against the textless book's artifact spirit? No matter what, I hope that Ling Xiao can defeat the textless book's artifact spirit and transcend. On the Eldritch continent, many supreme experts were discussing animatedly. Their eyes were full of excitement. Ancestor, can Ling Xiao survive? In the void, endless immortal light shrouded the place, mysterious and ethereal. The ninth prince of the immortal clan, Hong Tian, had a complicated expression. He looked at the battle between Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God and asked softly. Logically speaking, he should hate Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had shattered his pride and robbed him of the opportunity to transcend. Even after he had become an emperor, he was still beaten into the dust by Ling Xiao. However, now that he had witnessed the battle between Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God, Hong Tian's heart was filled with emotions. The old man standing beside Hong Tian was dressed in a Taoist robe. His hair and beard were all white. He looked very old, but his face was ruddy like a baby's. His eyes were full of wisdom and vicissitudes of life, as if he could see through everything. He was the ancestor Hong Jun of the immortal clan. I don't know. The ancestor Hong Jun shook his head. Even you don't know? Hong Tian asked softly. This is Ling Xiao's biggest challenge in his life. He will have to face the many people behind the scenes who have plotted against him. Although it looks like he has no chance of surviving, didn't you see that he has already persevered until now? Everyone's potential is endless. Ling Xiao's potential is even greater. So until now, I still can't see how far he can go. If he can defeat the device spirit of the textless heavenly book in this battle, the future of the untainted land will belong to him. The ancestor Hong Jun smiled faintly. Ling Xiao's world. Does the immortal clan have to submit to Ling Xiao? Ancestor, I don't want to. The ninth prince Hong Tian's eyes revealed a trace of sharpness. The immortal clan certainly won't submit to him. But at that time, I'm afraid we will have to go back to where we belong. The ancestor Hong Jun smiled faintly. Go back to where we belong. Ancestor, I don't understand. The ninth prince Hong Tian said with some doubts. You don't need to understand. You will know when the time comes. The ancestor Hong Jun said faintly. His eyes were vicissitude and calm, as if they could penetrate the layers of nothingness and see a mysterious world. The battle between Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God was still going on. In the void, the divine light was vast, the heavenly might was like a prison, the runes intertwined, the divine chains of order ran through the void, and the terrifying power fluctuations could destroy everything. The Scarlet Dragon War God was surrounded by 108 layers of bounded boundaries, which were blazing and dazzling, and had an incomparably strong defensive power. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by 3,000 worlds. Every punch seemed to be intertwined with the origin of 3,000 great paths. It was extremely fierce and overbearing. Even the defensive boundary around the Scarlet Dragon War God seemed to be about to reach a critical point. Ling Xiao had refined 3,000 origins of the Great Path. Each origin of the Great Path seemed to be able to open up an eternal world. 3,000 worlds were added to his fist. It was fierce and overbearing, suppressing everything. Even the Scarlet Dragon War God did not dare to face it head-on. Did the Heavenly Emperor also walk the path of the unification of 10,000 great ways? If not, how could the Heavenly Emperor's fist be able to enhance the 3,000 great worlds? Ling Xiao's mind was spinning. It was not until this moment that he truly understood the essence of the Heavenly Emperor's fist and turned it into his own use. Because the path he was taking now was very similar to that of the Heavenly Emperor. Otherwise, how could the Heavenly Emperor create the Heavenly Emperor's fist? Previously, whether it was him or Zhao Ritian, what they had obtained was only a trace of the Heavenly Emperor's fist. They had not fully exerted the power of the Heavenly Emperor's fist. Now, Ling Xiao had merged with the two avatars, and his cultivation base had reached perfection. His physical body had reached the pinnacle, and he had even activated the power of the 3,000 Great Ways origin. His every move was able to enhance the supreme divine might of the 3,000 great worlds, suppressing everything. Rumble. Under Ling Zhao's fierce and overbearing attack, the Scarlet Dragon War God seemed to be unable to withstand it. The bounded boundaries around his body continued to shatter, turning into a bright rain of light. The wordless heavenly book buzzed and trembled. It was ancient and mysterious. Divine chains of order shot out from it, trying to imprison Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao struggled slightly and completely shattered it. The unparalleled fist print fell on the wordless heavenly book, causing it to tremble violently. It was constantly blasted away by Ling Xiao. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were cold as he rushed to the front of the Scarlet Dragon War God. His fierce and unparalleled fist print intertwined with the 3,000 great worlds to suppress the Scarlet Dragon War God. In an instant, the 108 bounded boundaries around the Scarlet Dragon War God burst apart at the same time. A blazing and mysterious brilliance rose from his palm, containing the ethereal aura of time, like a mysterious halo, enveloping the Scarlet Dragon War God in an instant. Reverse Fate Technique. Ling Xiao once again displayed the Reverse Fate Technique. His whole body shone brightly. At this moment, it was like the heavenly Tao that dominated all living beings. It was about to take control of the Scarlet Dragon War God's fate. It began to devour his life source, and headed towards the Scarlet Dragon War God's fate and real spirit. You're courting death. The Scarlet Dragon War God seemed to be completely furious. He roared and the blazing divine light around his body shrouded Ling Xiao in an instant. The wordless heavenly book shone brightly. 108 great Daos descended at the same time, forming an ancient and mysterious formation around Ling Xiao. It was like 108 great emperors of the epoch were about to arrive at the same time. The great Tao origin rose, intertwining like flames, wanting to completely refine Ling Xiao. The Apex. Chapter 3360. Boom. The light of destiny released by the art of reversing fate seemed to be able to reverse the cycle of reincarnation and destroy all living beings. It contained an amazing power of devouring and destruction. Even though the Scarlet Dragon War God was extremely powerful, when he was enveloped by the art of reversing fate, cracks appeared all over his body like a spider web. Origin power surged out from these cracks and rushed towards Ling Xiao's body. When the wordless heavenly book erupted, the true fire of the great path formed by the 108 great path origins could also incinerate everything. Ling Xiao's body was immortal and could not withstand the wordless heavenly book's incineration. He began to tremble violently and his flesh began to fall off as if it was being refined. However, with the art of reversing fate devouring the Scarlet Dragon War God's life essence as a supplement, Ling Xiao was able to withstand the true fire of the great path. Rumble. Blazing divine light exploded between Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God. The two of them seemed to have fallen into a state of stalemate. Shrouded in blazing divine light and flames, they continued to release amazing killing power. The aura of Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God began to weaken. Good chance. The eyes of the Chaotic Emperor and the other three lit up. Their eyes were incomparably sharp. In an instant, they saw that Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God had fallen into a state of mutual destruction. Both of them had suffered heavy injuries and backlash in an instant. The art of reversing fate had penetrated the Scarlet Dragon War God's powerful defense and was constantly devouring his life essence. When the wordless heavenly book erupted, the true fire of the great path bloomed and incinerated Ling Xiao's body and primordial spirit. Rumble. Blazing chaotic light rose from the Chaos Emperor's body. An ancient bell of chaos radiated a blinding light that traversed the void and instantly pierced through the array set up by the artifact spirits. An ancient sword appeared in the palm of the Destiny Emperor. The sword chi was ethereal and mysterious, as if it could destroy the fate of all living beings. In an instant, it broke through layers of the void and slashed towards the scarlet dragon war god in the distance. The Karma Emperor softly uttered the name of Buddha and put his palms together. Between his palms, infinite Buddhist light bloomed and turned into a huge golden Buddha body above the ninth heaven. It was eternal and immortal, pressing down on the scarlet dragon war god and Ling Xiao. Blazing light gathered around the flowing time great emperor, and a long river of time condensed out of nothingness. At the same time, divine chains of order intertwined with each other, as if it had fused with the power of the great Tao. It swept out mightily, forming a domain of time around Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God. The four utmost powerful beings struck out at the same time as a terrifying might shook the entire world. In an instant, they pierced through the heavens and earth, shattering the formation set up by the 9 weapon spirits into dust. Their eyes were cold and filled with murderous intent. They rushed towards Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God, wanting to kill them all while they were both injured. Just as the 4 supreme experts were about to attack, the Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes flashed and the corner of his mouth revealed a hint of mockery. Boom! At this moment, the wordless heavenly book shone brightly once again. 108 divine chains of order intertwined to form a mysterious origin net that enveloped the primal Chaos Emperor and the other 3. Ignorant things. Since you want to die, leave your lives behind and become nourishment for the myriad path golden core. The Scarlet Dragon War God sneered. Boom! 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 Above the 9 heavens, a blazing light rose. With the wordless heavenly book as the center, 9 dazzling balls of light with vast auras appeared in an instant. The Fortune Jade Disc, the Primordial Bead, the Cauldron of Fortune, the Longevity Tower, the Sky-Burying Coffin, the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures had all arrived. The 9 device spirits rushed into the Supreme Chaos Treasures in an instant, causing the Supreme Chaos Treasures to bloom with dazzling light. The 10 Chaos Treasures arrived at the same time. They gathered together and formed a dazzling storm of chaos. It enveloped Ling Xiao and the other 4 powerhouses. Rumble. The attacks of the Primal Chaos Emperor and the others were instantly shattered by the 10 Primal Chaos Treasures. Almost instantly, they were imprisoned by a mysterious force. Flames of nothingness rose around them, blooming with mysterious lights of 10 colors. They began to burn fiercely. The expressions of the Chaotic Emperor, the Fate Emperor, the Karma Emperor, and the Flowing Time Emperor changed dramatically. They had lived for 108 eras and possessed the cultivation of 108 eras. Their strength was extremely powerful and terrifying. It could be said that they were the supreme experts of this world. However, when the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures arrived at the same time, the mysterious 10-colored flame made them feel as if they were about to be completely refined. Moreover, their strength, cultivation, and life origin were being devoured by the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures and converging toward the myriad path golden core in the 9th heaven. What? The faces of the Chaotic Emperor and the others turned ugly. Blazing light rose around them and immortal halos gathered around them as they tried to break free from the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures. However, they realized in despair that their unparalleled strength was so weak in front of the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures. Don't waste your energy. The 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures are the divine weapons of the Heavenly Tao that were born at the beginning of the world. They contain the Heavenly Tao origin and Great Tao merit. The 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures form a chaos infinite formation that can't be broken by a transcendent expert. Although you are strong, you can't avoid defeat today. The Scarlet Dragon War God sneered. The reason he fought with Ling Xiao, the Chaotic Emperor, and the others was to create an opportunity for the 9 device spirits to call back the Supreme Chaos Treasures as soon as possible. After all, the 9 device spirits had disappeared for so many years that the Supreme Chaos Treasures had their own masters. Some of the masters were even as strong as the Chaotic Emperor and the others. It was not easy to call back the Supreme Chaos Treasures. Now, the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures were gathered and the Chaos Infinite Formation was activated. Although it consumed a lot of the origin energy of the 10 device spirits, it was worth it to kill Ling Xiao, the Chaotic Emperor, and the others and nourish the Myriad Path Golden Core with their lives, origin, and cultivation. Especially when he thought that after refining the Myriad Tao Golden Dan, he would be able to completely transcend. Even the Scarlet Dragon War God became extremely excited. He had waited for too long. He had schemed for countless eras and schemed against countless supreme geniuses. Finally, he saw the possibility of success in Ling Xiao. Transcend. He must transcend. This was the obsession of the Scarlet Dragon War God. No one could stop him. The 10-colored flame was the Chaos Infinite Flame. It was the origin of the birth of all living beings in the heavens. It was also the place where all living beings returned to. It had once opened up the world and gave birth to life. It had also once destroyed one world after another. It was like an eternal God that controlled the life and death of the world. The Chaos Infinite Flame burned everything. Even the 4 supreme experts could not stop it. They were all struggling in the Chaos Infinite Flame. Their bodies trembled violently and their eyes were filled with disbelief. They constantly used various powerful divine powers to break through the void and escape. However, no matter what kind of divine powers or secret skills they used, they were instantly annihilated and devoured when they came into contact with the Chaos Infinite Flame. The 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures set up the Chaos Infinite Formation. Ling Xiao's current state was also very dangerous. His flesh and blood had turned into nothingness. Only a purple-gold skeleton was left, which was still enduring the burning of the Chaos Infinite Flame. His skeleton had once merged with the wordless Heavenly Book and the Good Fortune Jade Disc. It was also supported by the Hong Meng Immortal Qi. It could be said that it was indestructible and even had a trace of the Chaos Infinite Flame's immortality. However, the Chaos Infinite Formation formed by the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures was too terrifying. The Chaos Infinite Flame surged like a sea of fire. With the support of the Scarlet Dragon War God, Ling Xiao's skeleton began to slowly melt. At this moment, the Scarlet Dragon War God was sitting cross-legged under the Myriad Tao Golden Core. He was constantly devouring the power of the Chaos Emperor and the others, integrating it into the Myriad Tao Golden Core, making it more mysterious and crystal clear. The Scarlet Dragon War God began to slowly operate his cultivation, trying to refine the Myriad Tao Golden Core. In his opinion, once the Chaos Infinite Formation was set up, Ling Xiao and the others would definitely die. There was no need for him to pay any attention to them. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook. The void roared, and endless flames soared into the sky. Ling Xiao and the 4 supreme experts were trapped in the Chaos Infinite Formation. With the support of the 10 Supreme Chaos Treasures, they could not escape at all. The Chaos Emperor was beginning to panic. He could not remember how many years it had been since he was so flustered and frightened. Since the first era, he had been the master of the Great Tao and the master of the Chaos. He had been used to dominating the fate of all living beings and was worshipped by countless people. He no longer knew what death and fear were. But now, that long-lost feeling had returned. Rumble. The Chaos Emperor attacked desperately. The Chaos Fist Print broke the void, the Chaos Realm shrouded the surroundings. The Chaos Bell could suppress the earth, water, wind, and fire, creating an ancient and eternal world. He used all of his means to break open the array and rush out of the infinite primal chaos array. At this moment, he had even forgotten about the Myriad Tao Golden Core. He just wanted to live. The Myriad Tao Golden Core was a supreme treasure formed by Ling Xiao's 3,000 Great Tao origins. It was related to his life. The Scarlet Dragon War God was refining the Myriad Tao Golden Core, which was equivalent to stripping the connection between the Myriad Tao Golden Core and Ling Xiao. At the same time, he was annihilating Ling Xiao's vitality. When the Scarlet Dragon War God completely refined the Myriad Tao Golden Dan, it would also be the time of Ling Xiao's death. Come back. The flames around Ling Xiao rose, and a mysterious light, containing an aura that transcended everything, bloomed in an instant. The myriad Dao golden core, which was being refined by the scarlet dragon war god, flew toward Ling Xiao like a dazzling stream of light. Peak. Chapter 3361. What? The scarlet dragon war god's face changed slightly. He did not expect that Ling Xiao could still control the myriad Dao golden core. Logically speaking, the myriad Dao golden core had been stripped away by him, and Ling Xiao was almost at the end of his life. He and Ling Xiao belonged to the same body. Refining the myriad Dao golden core, the myriad Dao golden core should not produce rejection. He did not expect that when he had already refined a trace of the myriad Dao golden core, the myriad Dao golden core would still fly back into Ling Xiao's body. Courting death. The scarlet dragon war god's eyes revealed a trace of cold killing intent. His whole body was vast, and his killing intent was boiling. In an instant, like a blazing beam of light, he flew towards Ling Xiao. The radiance of the golden elixir blazed like a dazzling divine sun, blooming with boundless radiance. In an instant, it arrived in front of Ling Xiao and enveloped him within. Rumble. The myriad Dao origin intertwined, and a chain of order gathered on Ling Xiao's body. At the same time, a blazing and dazzling brilliance surged, supplementing Ling Xiao's own origin power. At this moment, the myriad Dao golden core seemed to have become the center of the primal chaos infinite formation. The 10 primal chaos treasures melted the 4 supreme experts, and the powerful origin power swallowed by them all rushed towards the myriad Dao golden core. Die for me. The scarlet dragon war god was furious, and his eyes were full of cold killing intent. He did not expect that Ling Xiao would still have the strength to snatch the myriad Dao golden core at this time. A blazing beam of light pierced through everything in an instant and ran towards Ling Xiao. Buzz! The myriad Dao golden core blazed, and a twisted light appeared on it, refining the beam of light in an instant. At this moment, the scarlet dragon war god discovered that in the myriad Dao golden core, in addition to Ling Xiao, there was a figure that looked extremely mysterious and familiar. That is, my imprint doppelganger. Damn it! The scarlet dragon war god's body shook violently, and his eyes revealed a look of incomparable horror. He instantly understood why Ling Xiao was able to snatch the myriad Dao golden core. In the Transcendence Scroll, Ling Xiao must have obtained some kind of power left behind by a Transcendence expert. That was why he was able to activate the myriad Dao golden core at the last moment and snatch it away. More importantly, Ling Xiao actually had an imprint clone of the weapon spirit of the textless heavenly book. This imprint clone was left in the textless heavenly book when the weapon spirit separated itself from the book. Logically speaking, this brand clone should have vanished countless epochs ago, so why had it actually appeared in Ling Xiao's hands now? It was this brand doppelganger that possessed the same power as the scarlet dragon war god and could also trigger the reaction of the myriad Dao golden core. Ling Xiao and the artifact spirit's imprint doppelganger combined and instantly snatched the myriad Dao golden core back into their hands. After understanding all this, Scarlet Dragon War God was even more furious. His eyes were full of monstrous killing intent. Origin force surged around his body and turned into a powerful killing light. So what if I stole the myriad Tao golden core? In this primal chaos infinite array, even the myriad Dao golden core has to listen to my orders. Scarlet Dragon War God's voice was bone-chilling, and his eyes were full of indifferent killing intent. He pointed in the air, and suddenly the 10 chaos treasures bloomed a chaotic light beam at the same time. In an instant, they wrapped around the myriad Dao golden core. The 10 chaotic light beams seemed to contain the most ancient and mysterious power of the world. Like 10 worlds, they enveloped the myriad Dao golden core. An incomparably powerful force erupted from it, wanting to completely expel Ling Xiao from the myriad Dao golden core. That terrifying power, even Ling Xiao was unable to contend with it. Scarlet Dragon War God, do you really think I don't dare to self-destruct the myriad Dao golden core? A cold glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he spoke with a hint of madness. The connection between him and the myriad Dao golden core was getting weaker and weaker, as if it was about to be completely cut off by Scarlet Dragon War God, but the crazy fluctuations on Ling Xiao's body were getting stronger and stronger. After hearing Ling Xiao's words, Scarlet Dragon War God could not help but change his expression. If it was before, he might have scoffed at Ling Xiao's words. After all, he had countless means to cut off the connection between Ling Xiao and the Myriad Dao Golden Core and grab the Myriad Dao Golden Core. But now, Ling Xiao had his branded doppelganger, which was his greatest constraint. If Ling Xiao desperately urged his imprint clone, and triggered the 3000 Great Dao origins inside the Myriad Dao Golden Core, it might really be possible to make the Myriad Dao Golden Core self-destruct. At that time, Scarlet Dragon War God was afraid that he would really not get anything. Ling Xiao, if you dare to self-destruct the Myriad Dao Golden Core, I guarantee that in this world, all the people related to you will be erased by me, no one will be left. Scarlet Dragon War God said coldly, his voice full of infinite killing intent. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with killing intent. The Scarlet Dragon War God's words made his heart burn with rage. He believed that Scarlet Dragon War God could do it. After all, Scarlet Dragon War God and he were of the same origin. He knew everything that had happened to him. Naturally, he also knew Ling Xiao's parents, lovers, friends, and so on. But it was precisely because of this that Scarlet Dragon War God's words seemed to have touched Ling Xiao's reverse scale, making Ling Xiao give birth to infinite killing intent. Scarlet Dragon War God must die. Even if it means perishing together with him. Kacha. At this moment, the sky cracked open. As if there was endless water vapor rising, a yellow light surged, and a mysterious river hundreds of millions of miles long emerged. The river seemed to run through the heavens and thousands of worlds, flowing from ancient times to the present, containing an aura of reincarnation. At a glance, people could not help but feel their hearts tremble. Above the river, a figure stood in the air. Although his face could not be seen clearly, the figure seemed to be holding up the heavens and earth, containing an endless amount of mighty power. An extremely powerful emperor's aura gushed out, causing everyone's expression to change. Netherworld Sacred River. Someone exclaimed, trembling all over. The Netherworld Sacred River, which had countless mysterious colors and legends in the heavens and thousands of worlds, appeared in the sky at this moment. Who is that figure? I seem to feel that he is the one who brought the Netherworld Sacred River here. I don't know. But his aura is even more terrifying than the Netherworld Sacred River. Could he be a supreme great emperor? Could it be the Reincarnation Emperor? Everyone was incomparably shocked as they discussed in low voices. Someone seemed to have guessed the origin of that figure, and even his voice became incomparably trembling. The Reincarnation Emperor. Everyone couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Among the four sovereigns, the Chaos Emperor, the Fate Emperor, and the Karma Emperor had appeared, but the most mysterious Reincarnation Emperor had not yet appeared. Not only was the Reincarnation Emperor mysterious, but it was also said that he was the most powerful of the four sovereigns. Even the Chaos Emperor was full of fear when he mentioned the Reincarnation Emperor. Reincarnation? You actually left the dark world? Save me. The Chaos Emperor stared at the figure in the Netherworld Sacred River, and his eyes were filled with surprise and joy. He had previously sent the heaven-reaching Great Emperor to guard the passageway to the Dark World to prevent the Reincarnation Emperor from leaving the Dark World and coming to compete with him for the Myriad Dao Golden Core. But he did not expect the Reincarnation Emperor to leave the Dark World. It seemed that the Reincarnation Emperor's strength was still beyond his imagination. But at this moment, his heart was filled with joy. He hoped that the Reincarnation Emperor could break the infinite chaos array and save him. Amitabha, it is indeed Taoist reincarnation. Taoist friend, please save our lives. We will be eternally grateful. The Karma Emperor clasped his hands together and sat cross-legged on the golden lotus seat. His flesh and blood were almost burned into nothingness by the infinite chaos fire, leaving behind only a golden skeleton that emitted a mysterious light. He lowered his eyebrows and looked at the Reincarnation Emperor with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Reincarnation Emperor, if you can save me, I will follow your lead from now on. The Destiny Emperor stared at the Reincarnation Emperor as he spoke. There was a strange light in his eyes. Although he was enveloped by the infinite chaos fire, he was still shrouded in immortal light. It was as if there was a mysterious force that covered his aura, making it impossible to tell whether he was a man or a woman. However, at this moment, his eyes, which were originally calm like an ancient well, stirred when he saw the reincarnation emperor. The four sovereigns had lived since the first era. In the first era, they had even helped each other and were once friends. But later, as the era of reincarnation and heaven and earth were created and destroyed, they pursued different daos and gradually went their separate ways. But at this moment, a glimmer of hope appeared in the hearts of the Chaos Emperor, the Karma Emperor, and the Destiny Emperor. They hoped that the Reincarnation Emperor could save them. Humph! Reincarnation Emperor? You are just a disgusting rat who only knows how to hide in the dark world. How dare you be so presumptuous at this time? The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes flashed with killing intent. He waved his sleeves and a blazing light rose around him. The 10 Chaos Treasures sensed it immediately. Rumble. The 10 Chaos Treasures soared into the sky and the infinite chaos formation spread out, trying to trap the Reincarnation Emperor in the formation. The infinite primal chaos flame surged, containing the power to incinerate everything. It swept across the sky in a mighty manner. Countless stars in the starry sky were enveloped by the infinite primal chaos flame, turning into nothingness. The infinite chaos formation was about to envelop the Reincarnation Emperor. The Reincarnation Emperor's eyes were indifferent. The underworld's sacred river surged around him and he spoke in a faint but ethereal voice. Burying Sky Coffin, if not now, when? The Reincarnation Emperor's voice was like the command of the heavenly Tao. It contained a mysterious force that could not be resisted. Boom! The sky-burying coffin, one of the 10 ultimate chaos treasures, suddenly trembled violently. Runes rose up, and black light surged like an ocean. It contained the aura of reincarnation, life, and death, as if it wanted to escape from the ultimate chaos formation. Chapter 3362. What? The weapon spirit of the sky-burying coffin was shocked and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He was the weapon spirit of the sky-burying coffin. Logically speaking, the sky-burying coffin was like a part of his body and could be activated by him at will. Therefore, even though the sky-burying coffin had fallen into the hands of the Samsara Emperor, the weapon spirit of the sky-burying coffin had easily refined the imprint that the Samsara Emperor had left on it. However, he did not expect the sky-burying coffin to emit a strange aura at this moment. Crack! The lid of the sky-burying coffin suddenly opened and a mysterious black light surged out. An ancient talisman flew out silently from the coffin. It was as black as ink and the twisted patterns on it seemed to contain the truth of heaven and earth. In an instant, it flew towards the weapon spirit of the sky-burying coffin. It was too fast. It was so fast that the weapon spirit of the sky-burying coffin could not react in time and was imprinted on his body by the talisman. Boom! There seemed to be billions of rays of light exploding in his body and burning everything like flames. Although the weapon spirit of the sky-burying coffin had an immortal body, he could not help but tremble violently at this moment. Then, he suddenly exploded in the void. Ah, save me! The weapon spirit of the sky-burying coffin let out a miserable cry. At this moment, a little girl in a white dress flew out from the sky-burying coffin. She looked to be about 7 or 8 years old but her face was very delicate. Her eyes were cold and indifferent. She exuded an aura of death from head to toe. She pointed her finger in the air. Suddenly, the black runes in the void spread out like a huge black net. They gathered the body of the sky-burying coffin's artifact spirit and flew into the sky-burying coffin. Swoosh! The little girl in the white dress stood barefoot and stepped on the sky-burying coffin. She was like a black streamer. In an instant, she left the chaotic infinite array and flew to the Samsara Emperor. Greetings, Father. I have not let you down. The little girl in the white dress said with a smile. Not bad, Luoluo is very powerful. The Samsara Emperor smiled faintly and patted Luoluo's head. Luoluo. Ling Xiao shuddered, his eyes filled with disbelief. He hadn't expected that Luoluo had been hiding in the sky-burying coffin all this time. At the critical moment, she had dealt a fatal blow to the artifact spirit of the sky-burying coffin and escaped the infinite primal chaos formation with the sky-burying coffin. Rumble. Chaotic mist surged in the void as runes exploded one after another. The sea of fire formed by the infinite primal chaotic flame was gradually annihilated in the void. 9 Chaos Supreme treasures flew out, and the infinite primal chaos formation was broken in an instant. Only when the 10 ultimate chaos treasures were gathered could the infinite chaos formation be formed. Now that the sky-burying coffin had left the formation naturally collapsed instantly. Damn it! The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were full of monstrous anger and killing intent, as well as a trace of unbelievable shock. The Primal Chaos Infinite Array was his greatest trump card. He had never expected the Samsara Emperor to destroy it in an instant. Moreover, it was obvious that Luoluo had been hiding in the sky-burying coffin for a long time. It was only now that the Samsara Emperor had appeared that she suddenly attacked and severely injured the device spirit of the sky-burying coffin. This showed that the Samsara Emperor had been scheming for a long time. This made the Scarlet Dragon War God's heart tremble slightly. Whoosh! 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 Chaos, fate, karma, and flowing time Emperor were overjoyed. Their eyes were filled with incomparable surprise as they instantly rushed up to the sky. Although the 4 of them were severely injured at this moment, and their vitality was greatly damaged. More than half of their life source and cultivation had been devoured by the Primal Chaos Infinite Array, almost turning into nourishment for the myriad Tao Golden Core. Being able to escape alive still made them feel the joy of escaping death. Scarlet Dragon, let Ling Xiao go and I will spare your life. The Samsara Emperor stared at the Scarlet Dragon War God and said indifferently. You came to save him, not for the myriad Tao Golden Core. The Scarlet Dragon War God's expression changed, and then he sneered and said, spare my life? Samsara, do you really think that you can control everything after taking the sky-burying coffin? Today, whoever dares to stop me from taking the myriad Tao Golden Core will die. Boom! The Scarlet Dragon War God exuded a terrifying aura that caused the surrounding sky to tremble violently. He had planned for countless years, how could he be willing to give up the myriad Tao Golden Core? As long as he refined the myriad Tao Golden Core, he would be able to completely transcend, break free from the shackles of the wordless heavenly book, break free from the shackles of the heavenly way, and control everything and dominate all living beings. Anyone who dares to stop him from transcending will die. You are not fated to have the myriad Tao Golden Core. The Samsara Emperor said calmly. The Scarlet Dragon War God sneered and suddenly said in a cold voice, You 8, stop him. I will refine the myriad Tao Golden Core. Today, whoever stands in my way will die. Yes. The artifact spirits of the 8 ultimate chaos treasures answered with a roar. Boom! Blazing rays of light shot up into the sky. Under the control of the weapon spirits, the 8 chaos treasure spirits instantly shot up into the sky and attacked the Samsara Emperor. Father, Luoluo looked at the Samsara Emperor with some concern. Don't worry. You go and help Ling Xiao. Leave them to me. The Samsara Emperor said indifferently. Yes. Luoluo nodded. Then, with a tap of her foot, the sky-burying coffin shone brightly like a bolt of black lightning and flew towards Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God. The 8 Chaos Treasure Spirits wanted to stop Luoluo and stop her from helping Ling Xiao. However, the Samsara Emperor's feet shook and the underworld's sacred river surged. Rumble. Strands of deathly aura intertwined as mysterious corpses of chaotic god-fiends appeared. Powerful divine weapons covered the sky as the Yellow Spring's sacred river instantly enveloped the 8 primordial treasures of chaos. The Reincarnation Emperor's figure moved freely in the Netherworld's sacred river, constantly colliding with the 8 chaos treasures. Every strike was earth-shattering, erupting with destructive energy waves. The 8 chaos treasure spirits were trapped by the underworld's sacred river and could not break free. Brother Primordial Chaos, I have decided to give up the myriad Tao Golden Core. What are you going to do? The Destiny Emperor looked at the Primordial Chaos Emperor and said calmly. The situation today is chaotic. I think we should leave for now. The Myriad Dao Golden Core is an ominous item. I am afraid no one will be able to obtain it today. The Karma Emperor said calmly. Humph. If you want to leave, leave on your own. Today, I must get the Myriad Dao Golden Core. The Primordial Chaos Emperor was unwilling to give up and snorted coldly. He was unwilling to give up. If the Scarlet Dragon War God was not so sinister and powerful, he would have already gotten the Myriad Dao Golden Core. Brother Primordial Chaos, perhaps we can work together. The Flowing Time Emperor said slowly with a glint in his eyes. How? The Primordial Chaos Emperor said indifferently. Let's put aside our enmity for now. I can help you get the Myriad Dao Golden Core, but you have to help me suppress the weapon spirit of the textless heavenly book so that I can refine it. The Flowing Time Emperor said slowly with a glint in his eyes. Suppress the weapon spirit of the textless heavenly book. Good plan. The textless heavenly book and the weapon spirit are the key to setting up the primordial infinite array. They are also the key to transcending. You can also transcend once you have it. The Primordial Chaos Emperor sneered. Our interests don't conflict, do they? You have transcended by refining the Myriad Dao Golden Core, and I have also gotten what I want. I think it should be easy for the two of us to get the Myriad Dao Golden Core together, right? The Flowing Time Emperor smiled indifferently. The Primordial Chaos Emperor pondered for a moment and finally nodded. Okay. We will work together once, but if you dare to play any tricks, don't blame me for being ruthless. Don't worry. In the face of a great enemy, we should unite. The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes flashed and he smiled slightly. Since the two of you want to work together, we will take our leave first. The Fate Emperor and the Karma Emperor looked at each other, then turned and flew away. The two of them had also suffered unimaginable injuries. Now, they had probably lost dozens of eras of cultivation. If they continued to stay, they would be in danger of dying. In the end, they retreated in the face of difficulties. The Primordial Chaos Emperor and the Flowing Time Emperor chose to stay and quietly flew toward the Scarlet Dragon War God and Ling Xiao. Get lost. The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes flashed coldly when he saw Luoluo flying over. He suddenly roared. The wordless heavenly book shone brightly, and 108 rays of origin light, like divine chains of order, isolated Luoluo and shrouded her body. The Scarlet Dragon War God's killing intent surged. In an instant, he arrived in front of Ling Xiao, and a blazing flame gushed out of his palm and blasted toward Ling Xiao. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed coldly. At this moment, his body had recovered. Although his face was still a little pale, his eyes were full of incomparable fighting intent. The Myriad Dao Golden Core was floating above his head at this moment. The Scarlet Dragon War God's brand doppelganger was also in the Myriad Dao Golden Core, helping Ling Xiao refine it. Ling Xiao and the Scarlet Dragon War God collided fiercely. Their bodies shook violently, and the newly repaired body cracked again. He flew out horizontally. The Myriad Dao Golden Core is mine. The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were boiling with killing intent. He strode over and struck again. The Scarlet Dragon War God, in his rage, broke out a shocking battle strength. It was terrifying to the extreme, and Ling Xiao could not resist at all. Rumble. Black flames rose around the sky-burying coffin, violently colliding with the wordless heavenly book, breaking the divine chains of order, and then suppressing the Scarlet Dragon War God. Ling Xiao, I will stop him. Hurry up and refine the Myriad Dao Golden Core. Luoluo said anxiously. Good. Ling Xiao looked deeply at Luoluo and nodded. Before the Transcendence Scroll, Luoluo had competed with him for the secret of transcendence. Now he saw that Luoluo's true identity was the daughter of the reincarnation Great Emperor. But for some reason, Ling Xiao chose to believe in her. Luoluo, you are my daughter, and you want to recognize a thief as your father? The Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were deep. The wordless heavenly book suppressed the sky-burying coffin, and he grabbed Lualua's neck. Don't talk nonsense. Device spirit, you really put in a lot of effort to deal with my father. Even my sister and I have been deceived by you. But do you really think my father is a vegetarian? Luoluo said coldly with a frosty face. Luoluo and Shui Wei were the daughters of the Scarlet Dragon War God. But this was just a trick of the Scarlet Dragon War God. He changed the trajectory of Luoluo and Shui Wei in the reincarnation cycle and made them his daughters. The purpose was just to bury chess pieces to deal with the reincarnation Great Emperor. But unfortunately, the reincarnation Great Emperor had already found out. Luoluo understood the past and the present life, and naturally knew everything. You don't know life from death. Since you dare to stop me, don't blame me for ignoring the father-daughter relationship. The Scarlet Dragon War God said coldly. You, a device spirit, also understand the father-daughter relationship? Go to hell. Luoluo sneered. The sky-burying coffin flew across the sky and collided with the wordless heavenly book. At the same time, black flames rose from it, trying to engulf the Scarlet Dragon War God. That was the sky-burying fire, which was extremely harmful to the spiritual body. Although the Scarlet Dragon War God was strong, he was just a device spirit. The Scarlet Dragon War God seemed to be extremely afraid of the sky-burying fire. Divine light blazed around his body, and a series of divine chains of order crossed the sky, intertwining around his body, turning into a defensive boundary. He pointed in the air, and suddenly, the wordless heavenly book bloomed with infinite light. From it, 3,000 blazing and dazzling original light beams fell, like a prison, trapping Luoluo in it. Rumble. Although the sky-burying coffin's power was unparalleled, and the sky-burying fire could burn everything, it could not break out of the confinement of the 3,000 light beams and was trapped in the wordless heavenly book. You stay here obediently. After I kill Ling Xiao, I will come to settle accounts with you. The Scarlet Dragon War God snorted and turned to kill Ling Xiao. Chapter 3363. Rumble. Scarlet Dragon War God's body was surrounded by raging flames and divine light, exuding an unparalleled pressure. Like an immortal demon god, he charged towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed like lightning. Although he had just suffered serious injuries in the infinite primal chaos formation, his fighting spirit did not diminish. He tried to refine the myriad Tao golden core while condensing a fist and punching towards Scarlet Dragon War God. The Transcendence Fist contained the power of epoch, creation, and sovereign. It was unparalleled and mighty, colliding with Scarlet Dragon War God. Devour. Crack. Lightning bloomed in the void as Scarlet Dragon War God was repelled by Ling Xiao's punch. Ling Xiao's face turned even paler. Without transcendence, I'd like to see how many transcendence fists you can perform. Scarlet Dragon War God's face was cold and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He was familiar with all of Ling Xiao's divine abilities and secret arts. He even knew the transcendental fist that was derived from the three supreme fist arts like the back of his hand. He continued to soar through the air, charging towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. However, at this moment, a river of time silently appeared in the void, enveloping Ling Xiao in an instant. At the same time, chaotic light bloomed like a bright sun, mysterious and unfathomable. The light wrapped around Ling Xiao like divine chains. The flowing time Great Emperor and Chaos Great Emperor rushed out of the void and charged towards Ling Xiao, trying to snatch the myriad Tao golden core. You're courting death. Scarlet Dragon War God was furious and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He did not expect that the flowing time Great Emperor and Chaos Great Emperor, who had almost died in the infinite primal chaos formation, would not give up and covet the myriad Tao golden core. He had already regarded the myriad Tao golden core as his exclusive property. Anyone who dared to covet the myriad Tao golden core was his mortal enemy. Boom! Scarlet Dragon War God struck out with his palm, which was filled with void fire. The palm print was fierce and unparalleled, enveloping the flowing time Great Emperor and Chaos Great Emperor. Weapon Spirit, you can snatch the myriad Tao golden core, but we can't. Let's use our own methods. Primal Chaos Emperor sneered. He raised his hand, and suddenly, the Chaos Bell soared into the sky. Chaos light gushed out from it, and the sun, the moon, and the stars changed. It was like a chaos divine mountain, wrapped in the power of millions of genes, majestically suppressing the Scarlet Dragon War God. Scram! The Scarlet Dragon War God roared, and his unparalleled palm struck the bell of primal chaos. Suddenly, the bell of primal chaos trembled and runes exploded. The Scarlet Dragon War God's palm struck the bell and sent it flying. War God Scarlet Dragon's eyes were like steel. His murderous intent surged as he entered the time domain and reached for the myriad Dao golden core. Break! The flowing time Great Emperor was surrounded by the river of time. He pointed a finger in the air. The finger light was incomparably sharp, as if it could pierce through everything. It collided with the Scarlet Dragon War God. Crack! The finger light shattered, and the flowing time Heavenly Emperor was sent flying by the Scarlet Dragon War God's slap. The flowing time Heavenly Emperor and the Chaos Heavenly Emperor were no match for the ferocious Scarlet Dragon War God, not to mention that they had just suffered heavy injuries and lost a lot of cultivation. At this moment, there was a trace of viciousness in the eyes of the Chaotic Emperor as a rusty iron nail appeared in his palm. He activated it with the Chaos Origin. Strange runes rose from the rusty iron nail, and in an instant, it turned into a black light and shot towards the Scarlet Dragon War God. Chaos Soul Morning Nail. The Scarlet Dragon War God's face suddenly changed. His figure retreated rapidly, and his eyes were full of fear. The Chaos Soul Morning Nail was a supreme killing treasure refined by the ancestor god of the divine clan in the First Era. It specialized in destroying the primordial spirit, and had a strong killing effect on the spiritual body. In the First Era, the ancestor god of the divine clan had activated the Chaos Soul Morning Nail. It had killed countless primordial spirits of great emperors and destroyed many supreme emperor weapons and supreme treasures. However, the Chaos Soul Morning Nail was a one-time treasure. It was too heaven-defying and had long disappeared in the antiquity times. The Scarlet Dragon War God did not expect that the Chaos Heavenly Emperor would have a Chaos Soul Morning Nail. Strictly speaking, the Scarlet Dragon War God was still the device spirit of the wordless Heavenly Book. He felt a fatal threat from the rusty Soul Morning Nail in front of him. Whoosh! The Chaos Soul Morning Nail was extremely fast, and like a gangrene attached to the bone, it was nailed to the Scarlet Dragon War God's body in an instant. Ah! The Scarlet Dragon War God let out an incomparably miserable cry. His figure became distorted and blurred, revealing an incomparably ferocious face full of pain. The Scarlet Dragon War God's aura began to weaken. Device Spirit, let's see how you can survive. The Chaos Heavenly Emperor sneered. He did not care about the Scarlet Dragon War God at all, and grabbed towards the myriad Dao golden core. The Chaos Soul Morning Nail nailed into the Scarlet Dragon War God's body, constantly devouring his vitality and obliterating his origin. Seeing the miserable appearance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, everyone's heart palpitated. Rumble. The flowing time Great Emperor's eyes flashed coldly, and the river of time pressed down. Divine chains of order intertwined to form a time domain, trapping Ling Xiao in it. The myriad Dao golden core buzzed and trembled, but the Chaos Heavenly Emperor's figure was like lightning, instantly arriving in front of Ling Xiao. Get out of my way. The myriad Dao golden core is mine. The Scarlet Dragon War God was furious. Although he was seriously injured by the Chaos Soul Morning Nail, he still endured the pain and rushed into the time domain, wanting to snatch the myriad Dao golden core. Ling Xiao, it seems that even with the help of reincarnation, the myriad Dao golden core will be a wedding dress for others. The Chaos Heavenly Emperor sneered and reached out to grab Ling Xiao's chest. Is that so? Ling Xiao suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a sharp and crazed look in his eyes. He had suffered an unimaginable injury and was almost exhausted. Although he forcibly stimulated his cultivation to fight, he was far from the opponent of the Scarlet Dragon War God, the Chaos Heavenly Emperor, and the Flowing Time Great Emperor. But this did not mean that Ling Xiao had no means of fighting back. Rumble. Dazzling flames rose from Ling Xiao's body in an instant, and rays of origin source light bloomed. The myriad Tao golden core, like a rising sun, emitted a tyrannical and terrifying light. The scarlet dragon war god's face suddenly changed, as if he had thought of something. He could not help but roar, "No! Ling Xiao, if you dare to self-destruct the myriad Tao golden core, I guarantee that you will suffer a fate worse than death. Everyone related to you will die without a burial place." His voice was full of anxiety and anger. He had never thought that Ling Xiao would choose to self-destruct the myriad Tao golden core. After self-destructing the myriad Tao golden core, Ling Xiao's soul would disperse and he would die. His years of scheming would come to nothing, and he would no longer be able to transcend with the myriad Tao golden core. For the Scarlet Dragon War God, this was a fate worse than death. "Ling Xiao, stop!" The Chaos Heavenly Emperor and the Flowing Time Great Emperor were anxious and angry. They rushed forward to stop Ling Xiao from self-destructing the myriad Tao golden core. But it was too late. "If you want the myriad Tao golden core, I'll give it to you," Ling Xiao said indifferently. Boom! The myriad Tao golden core, like a bright sun, rushed out of his chest and shrouded the Chaos Heavenly Emperor, the Flowing Time Great Emperor, and the Scarlet Dragon War God. Vast and dazzling origin source light bloomed, and the myriad Tao golden core exploded in an instant. Rumble. At this moment, the entire Eldritch continent seemed to have become daytime. All the creatures were trembling. They all saw that above the ninth heaven, it was as if hundreds of millions of suns had exploded at the same time. The blazing and dazzling light swept in all directions like a storm. The Chaos Heavenly Emperor, the Flowing Time Great Emperor, and the Scarlet Dragon War God were naturally the first to be affected. They did not even manage to escape before they were enveloped by the explosion of the myriad Tao golden core. Ling Xiao was the same. It was as if they had been swallowed by a huge black hole. Endless tyrannical light rose and chaos surged. It was as if the world had been created, and all kinds of mysterious scenes appeared. Crack! The wordless heavenly book, which was trapping Luo, trembled violently. The pillars of light shattered at the same time. The wordless heavenly book was like a duckweed in the wind in front of such a mighty force. It was directly blown away. Luo was surrounded by dazzling light. The sky-burying coffin protected her, but Luo was still trembling as if she had been struck by lightning. Her face was pale, and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Even with the protection of the sky-burying coffin, she was still severely injured. This was only the aftermath. Luo could not imagine how terrifying the impact of the explosion was for Ling Xiao and the others, who were at the center of the explosion. "Brother Ling Xiao, is he dead?" Luo trembled violently. Her face was as white as paper, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. She looked at everything in front of her in a daze. It was as if she was watching a grand fireworks show. Her small figure was incomparably distressing to look at. The reincarnation Heavenly Emperor floated to her side unknowingly. The other 8 weapon spirits and the Chaos Treasure had also stopped fighting. They looked at the scene of the myriad Tao golden core exploding in front of them, and their faces were incomparably ugly. This is a tribulation that he has to go through. Only through destruction can he transcend. However, how difficult is the road to transcendence? No one knows what will happen in the future. The reincarnation Heavenly Emperor said softly. He seemed to be comforting Luo, but also seemed to be implying something. "Father, is Ling Xiao really all right?" Luo lifted her head and asked. "I don't know. The transcendence tribulation that comes next is the most terrifying. However, I think that in his current state, even if he survives, it will be difficult for him to transcend." The reincarnation Heavenly Emperor said softly, and there was a flickering light in his eyes. Buzz! The dazzling light in the void gradually dissipated, and everyone saw the scene within. Ling Xiao floated in the void. His entire body was transparent, and the light was weak. He looked like a candle flame in the wind, as if he would be extinguished at any time. This was not Ling Xiao, but Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. Ling Xiao's physical body had completely turned into nothingness, and only an extremely weak primordial spirit was left. Chapter 33-64. Chaos Emperor and Flowing Time Emperor were also in a miserable state. Although they had used the Chaos Bell and Time Compass to protect themselves, how terrifying was the explosion of the Myriad Tao Golden Core. The Bell of Chaos and the Time Compass, the two strongest extreme monarch weapons, both had cracks on them. Their light dimmed as they were severely injured. Their bodies were cracked, and half of their bodies had disappeared. Their auras were dispirited, and they coughed up blood. Their eyes were filled with terror. Scarlet Dragon War God was even more miserable. He was a spiritual body to begin with. He had just been severely injured by the Chaos Soul Bereavement Nail. Now that the Myriad Tao Golden Core had exploded, it was like divine chains of order had pierced through his body, causing his body to be torn apart. Although it was extremely difficult to fuse back together, his aura had also weakened a lot. Ling Xiao, you destroyed my Myriad Tao Golden Core. I will make you suffer. I will capture all your relatives and friends and torture them in front of you for hundreds of millions of years. I will let you watch them die in pain. Scarlet Dragon War God's eyes were filled with incomparable hatred and despair. He stared at Ling Xiao and roared. His hope was shattered. Ling Xiao had finally exploded the Myriad Tao Golden Core. Originally, he was only one step away from refining the Myriad Tao Golden Core. Seeing that he could transcend the righteous path, Scarlet Dragon War God was about to go crazy. Rumble. Just as Scarlet Dragon War God was about to grab Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, a ray of light suddenly bloomed in Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. The dazzling brilliance was mysterious and unfathomable, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. The ray of light grew brighter and brighter, and finally rose like a bright sun. Ling Xiao's body exuded a mysterious aura of transcendence. Endless lightning gathered above the ninth heaven, and the blazing brilliance seemed to annihilate everything. At this moment, it was as if the heavenly Tao was completely furious. A terrifying murderous intent locked onto Ling Xiao. What? That is, the Myriad Tao Golden Core. Scarlet Dragon War God trembled and stared at the ray of light in Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. His eyes were full of disbelief. Didn't the Myriad Tao Golden Core explode? How could there be another Myriad Tao Golden Core in Ling Xiao's body? Destruction and establishment, this is the true Myriad Tao Jin Dan. The Reincarnation Emperor sighed and said with a tinge of envy in his eyes. His words were like a clap of thunder, causing the Scarlet Dragon War God, the Primal Chaos Emperor, and the Flowing Time Emperor to tremble. Destroy and rebuild. So that was how it was. The so-called Myriad Tao Golden Core must go through a life and death tribulation before it can be completely perfected. Ha ha ha. The Scarlet Dragon War God seems to have thought of something, like madness, laughing loudly. It was laughable that his plan had come to nothing. What was even more laughable was that the Myriad Tao Golden Core never belonged to them. Even if they snatched it away, it would be useless. The path of transcendence could only be left to those who transcended. So what if he has a perfect Myriad Tao Jin Dan? Under the transcendence tribulation, everything will turn to dust. In his current state, he won't be able to survive the transcendence tribulation. The Primal Chaos Emperor snorted coldly. Although his eyes were red with jealousy, he still said coldly. However, what he said was not wrong. Ling Xiao's current state was extremely bad. Only his primordial spirit was left and he was extremely weak. Although he had a perfect Myriad Tao Golden Core, it was almost impossible for him to survive the transcendence tribulation. What a pity! If the path of Myriad Tao unification fails completely, there will be no more transcendence in this world. The Flowing Time Emperor's eyes were also filled with unwillingness as he sighed softly. Rumble. Terrifying lightning gathered. Above the 9 heavens, divine light crisscrossed. The lightning gathered like a mountain. Endless light of destruction condensed, as if a mysterious eye had appeared. That eye, full of purple gas, was mysterious and unfathomable. The eye contained the pure light of destruction, locking onto Ling Xiao. Destruction and establishment, will the myriad Tao golden core be completely perfected? Ling Xiao seemed to be immersed in the mysterious realm and did not notice the scene above the 9 heavens. The myriad Tao golden core had merged with the power of the 3,000 great Tao origins. At this moment, all the mysteries of the great Tao and all the power of the origin had appeared in Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. Ling Xiao seemed to have comprehended the power of the 3,000 great Tao origins in an instant. His entire person was like the heavenly Tao, exuding an ethereal and transcendent aura. It was as if he could shatter heaven and earth and kill all living beings with a single thought. It was a realm of transcendence, where he was unrestrained and did as he pleased. It was also a realm that countless people dreamed of. I see. Now, this myriad Tao golden core has truly merged with me and become the foundation of my transcendence. Ling Xiao whispered to himself. He slowly opened his eyes and looked at the eye above the 9 heavens. When their eyes met, it was as if there was a silent light blooming, mysterious and unfathomable. Ling Xiao's eyes surged with an unparalleled fighting spirit. He knew that the transcendence tribulation in front of him would be extremely terrifying. It would be difficult for even his primordial spirit to survive. However, Ling Xiao was fearless. Let's go. Suddenly, the Chaos Emperor's expression changed as he sensed the destructive aura fluctuation. He felt his scalp go numb and hurriedly teleported into the distance. Under the transcendence tribulation, all living beings would be crushed into powder. Ling Xiao is dead meat. The Flowing Time Emperor shook his head and also teleported into the distance. Although the Scarlet Dragon War God did not dare to do so, his eyes were full of resentment. However, he also carried the wordless heavenly book and flew into the distance. Under the transcendence tribulation, only the transcendence tribulation could be transcended. No one could help. If there were other living beings under the transcendence tribulation, they would also be killed. The Chaos Emperor, the Flowing Time Emperor, and the Scarlet Dragon War God had all suffered unimaginable injuries. They did not hesitate to teleport away. In fact, they did not even dare to stay for long. They were afraid that the Reincarnation Emperor would attack at this time and make them stay. However, the Reincarnation Emperor did not seem to have any intention of attacking. Instead, he stared at Ling Xiao in front of him with a strange look in his eyes. Soon, only the Reincarnation Emperor and Luo Luo were left in the 9 heavens. Even if someone wanted to watch Ling Xiao go through the tribulation, they would stay far away. Some even returned to the Eldritch continent and did not dare to stay in the chaotic void for long. The entire chaotic void was almost enveloped by the destructive aura emitted by the purple eye. Ling Xiao below was locked in place, as if he would be completely annihilated at any time. Father, will Big Brother Ling Xiao really die here? Luolua's eyes were full of worry. His chances of survival are slim. The Reincarnation Emperor shook his head and said softly, according to the ancient records, there are 3 transcendence tribulations. They are the apocalyptic heavenly punishment, the infinite fire, and the triple nirvana light. Are the 3 transcendence tribulations very difficult to pass? Luo asked. The apocalyptic heavenly punishment is the thunder tribulation of the heavenly Tao. It will destroy the physical body. If Ling Xiao was at his peak, he might be able to withstand the apocalyptic heavenly punishment. But now. The Reincarnation Emperor shook his head. As for the infinite fire, it is the chaotic infinite fire. It is the origin of all fire and the source of all life. It can burn the primordial spirit and everything. It is extremely terrifying. It will be very difficult for Ling Xiao to withstand the infinite fire with his primordial spirit. The Reincarnation Emperor said with a wry smile. But the most difficult one is the triple nirvana light. At the mention of the 3 generations of nirvana light, even the Samsara Emperor's eyes were filled with dread. What is the triple nirvana light? Luo asked curiously. People have a past life, a present life, and an afterlife. That is why it is called the three lives. The so-called samsara of life and death comes from the three lives. The triple nirvana light is the most terrifying tribulation among the transcendence tribulations. The transcendence tribulations transcends the heavenly Tao and the limits of the samsara. The past, present, and future will merge into one and reach a mysterious state. The triple nirvana light is to annihilate the past life, present life, and future life at the same time. It will completely erase a person, leaving nothing behind. If Ling Shao is erased by the triple nirvana light, even the memory he left in your primordial spirit will disappear completely. From then on, no one in this world will remember that there was a person called Ling Shao. The reincarnation emperor said slowly, his voice extremely solemn. What? It can erase the memory of all living beings? The triple nirvana light scripture is so terrifying. Luolua was also shocked. It was not scary to erase a person, but it was too difficult to erase all traces of a person's existence. After all, if a person died, he would leave behind many traces and memories. He would live in the memories of his old friends and relatives. However, if all traces were erased and all memories were erased, that would be too terrifying. Can you remember who the transcendence tribulations have been since ancient times? I'm afraid you don't know any of them. Because all traces of those who failed to pass the transcendence tribulation will be erased. However, those who pass the transcendence tribulation will transcend everything. They can do whatever they want and hide all traces of themselves. The reincarnation emperor sighed softly. If that's the case, isn't Brother Ling Shao doomed? Luolua's face turned pale. The reincarnation emperor did not speak, but his silence had explained everything. Rumble. At this moment, blazing lightning suddenly rose from the purple eye in the void. Endless lightning gathered and surged like a sea of thunder. Bolts of lightning as thick as mountains were extremely terrifying. They gathered together as if they were going to destroy the world. An extremely terrifying aura locked onto Ling Shao. The apocalyptic heavenly punishment that the reincarnation emperor had mentioned was about to appear. In the chaotic void, Ling Shao was only left with his primordial spirit. He stared at the apocalyptic heavenly punishment in the 9 heavens and felt a fatal danger. However, the madness in his eyes became more and more intense. Those that can't kill me will eventually make me stronger. Ling Shao growled. In an instant, a dazzling light bloomed in his eyes. He shot up into the sky and rushed toward the blazing sea of thunder. Rumble. At the same time, the sea of thunder surged. The blazing lightning gathered to the extreme and fell from the sky in an instant. It contained the power to destroy the world and enveloped Ling Shao. Everyone could not help but tremble. Their faces were extremely pale and the depths of their primordial spirits were trembling violently. It was as if they would die at any time. The apocalyptic heavenly punishment had arrived. Chapter 3365. Rumble. Blazing light rose from Ling Xiao's body and chaotic mist gathered around him. Endless chaotic matter gathered around him and formed a new physical body. Vast origin source light rose and he threw out a punch. A mighty transcendence aura erupted and the transcendence fist suppressed the surroundings as if it could annihilate everything. Although Ling Xiao was severely injured and even his physical body had turned into nothingness, his primordial spirit was still intact. More importantly, he had the Myriad Tao Golden Elixir in his body. The power of the Myriad Tao Golden Elixir was enough to support him to unleash the Transcendence Fist and destroy the world. Kill! Ling Xiao roared. His voice was extremely cold and contained a monstrous fighting spirit and an indomitable determination. Crack! The unparalleled Transcendence Fist collided with the apocalyptic heavenly punishment. Bolts of lightning that were as thick as mountains exploded. Endless divine light bloomed and was quickly annihilated. All kinds of mysterious and unfathomable scenes seemed to appear in that apocalyptic heavenly punishment. Countless living beings were annihilated. Countless gods and demons were bathed in blood. The heavens and earth were shattered and all living beings were wailing in grief. All kinds of destructive auras rushed towards Ling Xiao. Those complicated illusions were even more terrifying than the apocalyptic heavenly punishment. It was as if Ling Xiao's primordial spirit would forever sink into despair and be unable to transcend. The terrifying explosion instantly spread across the void and turned all the stars, ruins, and dust into nothingness. Under Ling Xiao's punch, the originally dazzling apocalyptic divine punishment dimmed rapidly, and its power was also gradually weakened. Boom! In the end, the sea of lightning exploded with a loud bang. It was directly destroyed by that purple eye. In an instant, shocking waves were stirred up. Divine chains of order swept out. The scene was terrifying to the extreme. Ling Xiao had taken the blow of the apocalyptic heavenly punishment head-on. It could even be said that he had taken the initiative to attack. With the Transcendence Fist, he had forcefully destroyed the apocalyptic heavenly punishment. However, Ling Xiao's physical body was completely destroyed once again. Even his primordial spirit had consumed a large amount of origin source and had become somewhat dim. Clearly, even Ling Xiao had to pay a hefty price to survive the apocalyptic heavenly punishment. He survived the apocalyptic heavenly punishment. Luolua's eyes were filled with surprise and joy. To be able to activate the power of the myriad Tao Jin Dan. Who would have thought that he would actually be able to do this? After the myriad Tao golden core self-destructed, it was reborn, as if it had become a part of him. If he was given enough time to fuse with the myriad Tao golden core and recover his peak cultivation, he might really be able to pass through the Transcendence Great Tribulation. But now... The Samsara Emperor shook his head, his eyes filled with emotions. Although there were only 3 Transcendence Tribulations, each one was more terrifying and ferocious than the previous one. Especially the last tribulations of 3 lives of Nirvana. The Samsara Emperor believed that Ling Xiao had no chance of surviving. Ling Xiao, you have to block it. In the secret realm, the old goat and Taoist Wu Yang's eyes were filled with anxiety. They were growling and their eyes were red. They had witnessed the battle with their own eyes, but the more desperate the battle was, the more powerless they felt. Their best friends and brothers were going through a calamity, but they were powerless. There was no way for them to go out and help. They could only hide here. Now that Ling Xiao was transcending the Great Tribulation, each and every one of their hearts were raised. He had to succeed. If he failed, all traces of Ling Xiao in this world would be completely erased. At that time, they wouldn't even have the right to remember Ling Xiao. At this moment, Ling Xiao's tribulation also affected the hearts of billions of people in the Eldritch continent. His enemies couldn't wait for Ling Xiao to die under the Great Tribulation. Those who cared hoped that Ling Xiao could successfully transcend the tribulation and become a transcendent. This was especially so for the billions of people in the human race. When they realized that the emperor they believed in was Ling Xiao's doppelganger, they were filled with strong worship and fanatical faith. Every one of them prayed devoutly, hoping that Ling Xiao could successfully transcend the tribulation. For an era, the people of the human race began to worship Ling Xiao as if they were worshipping the heavenly emperor. Ling Xiao's life and death were related to the survival of the human race. Boom! The purple eye seemed to be angry. It emitted a cold, terrifying, and monstrous killing intent. A purple flame spread out, emitting a chaotic color. It seemed to come from the void. In an instant, it shot out from the purple eye and enveloped Ling Xiao. The sea of fire rose. The purple flame flowed with a halo of 10 colors. It was mysterious and unfathomable. It seemed to be able to burn everything. Its aura was extremely terrifying. The infinite fire tribulation had descended. The infinite fire that erupted from the purple eye was even more violent and terrifying than the infinite chaotic fire of the 10 great chaotic treasures. Ling Xiao didn't have a physical body now. He was only left with the body of the primordial spirit. Moreover, he was restrained by the infinite fire. Before it completely descended, Ling Xiao already felt a fatal threat. Realm of Myriad Tao. Ling Xiao said softly. In an instant, a blazing light bloomed around him. 3,000 divine chains of order shot out from the myriad Tao golden core and intertwined to form a mysterious boundary around Ling Xiao. The origin of the great Tao rose. At the same time, chaos opened up. Yin and Yang separated. The 4 symbols and 5 elements. Everything in the world seemed to form a real world. The instant the barrier appeared, the limitless fire majestically descended from the sky, enveloping Ling Xiao. Rumble. The infinite fire was extremely terrifying. It could burn everything. Everything in the world, the origin of the great Tao, and even time and space. Real and illusory, it could burn. The realm of myriad Tao around Ling Xiao was a defensive boundary that he had built by activating the power of the origin of the myriad Tao. It had an almost immortal defense. However, under the burning of the infinite fire, runes rose and shone brightly. The realm of myriad Tao also began to burn. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit sat cross-legged in the void, constantly activating the power of the myriad Tao golden core, trying to maintain the realm of myriad Tao. However, the light of the realm of myriad Tao became dimmer and dimmer. In the end, it let out an incomparably crisp sound. Crack. Cracks appeared on the realm of myriad Tao. In the end, it exploded with a loud bang. The vast infinite fire surged like a monstrous wave. In an instant, it enveloped Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. Boom! The infinite fire burned fiercely, trying to burn Ling Xiao's primordial spirit completely. With Ling Xiao's extremely weak primordial spirit, it was impossible for him to fight against the infinite fire. However, at this moment, the myriad Tao golden core rose and emitted a misty light, protecting Ling Xiao's primordial spirit within it. Ling Xiao lowered his eyebrows and closed his eyes slightly. He muttered silently as if he was chanting a sutra. Mysterious and bright light bloomed around his body. Behind him, there seemed to be mysterious figures appearing one after another, emitting vast and majestic auras. The myriad Tao golden core seemed to have been injected with endless power. It was dazzling as it slowly rose and floated above Ling Xiao's head, isolating all the infinite fire. However, the infinite fire was not completely extinguished. It was still burning Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, trying to turn it into dust. Rumble. However, at this moment, an ancient and mysterious 3-legged, 2-eared cauldron flew across the sky. It expanded violently in the void, as if it had turned into a huge mountain that was hundreds of millions of feet tall. In an instant, it appeared above Ling Xiao's head. A powerful devouring force erupted from the mouth of the cauldron. The vast infinite fire was instantly swallowed by the cauldron like a whale swallowing the sea. Chirp. At the same time, a piercing screech was heard. It was as if another sun had risen in the void. Then, a huge black hole appeared in the sun. Similarly, a majestic devouring power was transmitted from the black hole, constantly devouring the everlasting fire. Everyone saw that the bright sun was actually a 3-legged, golden crow. Its entire body was dazzling with golden light, as if it was cast in gold. Flames rose, and its aura was ancient and mysterious. The 3-legged golden crow. The once royal family of the demon race, the supreme divine beast, the 3-legged golden crow had appeared. On top of the 3-legged golden crow sat a handsome young man in base-colored armor. He had a valiant figure and a handsome face. His entire body exuded an extremely powerful emperor aura. At the same time, there was a transcendent aura that was similar to Ling Xiao's. He rode on the 3-legged golden crow. If people did not observe with their naked eyes, they would not be able to see that there was a person sitting on the 3-legged golden crow. Zhao Ritian. Luo Luo was stunned. She immediately recognized the young man on the 3-legged golden crow. It was the son of the heavenly emperor, Zhao Ritian. She did not expect Zhao Ritian to appear at this moment. The 3-legged, 2-eared cauldron was the Emperor Yan cauldron. The Emperor Yan cauldron was the Emperor Yan's extreme emperor weapon in the primordial age. It was an extreme young treasure that could devour all flames in the world. Its power was unparalleled. The 3-legged golden crow was the god of fire. It controlled billions of divine flames that could burn the heavens and destroy the earth. The Emperor Yen Cauldron and the three-legged golden crow attacked at the same time, sharing most of the pressure for Ling Xiao and devouring a large amount of the infinite fire. Crack! However, the infinite fire was too violent. With a crisp sound, cracks appeared on the Emperor Yen Cauldron. In the end, the Emperor Yen Cauldron emitted a dazzling light and suddenly collapsed. Even if it was an extreme Tao Emperor weapon, it would not be able to last long under the burning of the everlasting flame. After the three-legged golden crow devoured part of the infinite fire, it reached its limit and was enveloped in flames. Useless fellow! Zhao Ritian looked at the three-legged golden crow and then flew toward Ling Xiao. Rumble! The flames around him rose and the golden armor emitted an immortal light. In an instant, it protected Ling Xiao's primordial spirit and resisted the infinite fire together. Zhao Ritian! Why are you here? Hurry up and leave. We can't interfere with the great tribulation of Tao attainment. You'll die. Ling Xiao was stunned. When he realized that it was Zhao Ritian, he urged him anxiously. Don't worry. The Transcendence Tribulation is useless to me. Zhao Ritian smiled proudly. Rumble! He and Ling Xiao attacked at the same time and quickly dispersed the last trace of the infinite fire. What shocked Ling Xiao was that the Transcendence Tribulation did not seem to notice Zhao Ritian's existence. How did Zhao Ritian do it? Don't worship me. Ling Xiao, isn't your path of combining all Daos a little too much of a failure? It's bad enough that you were chased by a group of rascals. Now, you can't even protect yourself. If it weren't for me, I'm afraid your soul would have been scattered, right? Zhao Ritian smiled proudly. His eyes were filled with pride. Hurry up and leave. The Transcendence Tribulation is terrifying. If you continue to stay here, your life will be in danger. Ling Xiao said to Zhao Ritian with a solemn expression. Rumble! At that moment, the purple eye above the 9 heavens emitted a mysterious tricolored light. It was as ancient and mysterious as a roulette. A terrifying killing force locked onto Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian. Ling Xiao's face changed. Although he did not know that the last tribulation was the 3 generations of nirvana light, he felt a fatal sense of danger. This great tribulation was many times scarier than the world-ending heavenly punishment and the Wuji flame. Chapter 3366. This is the last tribulation of the Transcendence Tribulation. It's called the 3 generations of nirvana tribulation. As long as you pass through this tribulation, you will be able to transcend completely. Looking at the dazzling radiance above the 9 heavens that seemed to contain the mysterious aura of reincarnation, Zhao Ritian revealed a strange look in his eyes as he spoke slowly. 3 generations of nirvana tribulation. How did you know? Ling Xiao asked. Zhao Ritian smiled faintly and did not answer Ling Xiao's question directly. Instead, he continued, the 3 generations of nirvana tribulation is targeted at your 3 lifetimes, which are your past life, present life and future life. Your 3 lifetimes will experience the tribulation at the same time. If you want to pass through it, you will have to pass through all 3 lifetimes successfully. If you are killed in one of your lifetimes, all your efforts will be in vain and you will fail the tribulation completely. By then, all traces of you in this world will be completely erased. Ling Xiao, do you know? Originally, you might not be able to pass through this tribulation. However, with me, Zhao Ritian, you will definitely be able to transcend successfully. Zhao Ritian said as he stared at Ling Xiao seriously. Why? Ling Xiao asked. Rumble. Above the 9 heavens, the dazzling light was mysterious and unfathomable. It seemed to have split into 3, between reality and illusion. It was extremely blurry but it contained a fatal killing intent. It was even more terrifying than the apocalyptic tribulation and the infinite fire tribulation. The dazzling light fell from the 9 heavens like an eternal sun. It lit up the faces of Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian, making their figures extremely clear. Ling Xiao could even see the faint smile at the corner of Zhao Ritian's mouth and the determination in his eyes. A bad premonition suddenly arose in Ling Xiao's heart. Boom! The dazzling 3 generations of nirvana tribulation descended. It was like a huge bolt of lightning that pierced through the heavens and earth. In an instant, it split the heavens, the earth, the oceans, and the mountains and rivers, becoming an eternal radiance. In front of the boundless light, everything became insignificant. Even the great emperors who were watching Ling Xiao from afar trembled. Their eyes were filled with fear. The terrifying aura seemed to be able to destroy everything. Even the great emperors felt like they were ants. Infinite Chaos Shield. Zhao Ritian bellowed. Boom! Dazzling golden light bloomed around him like mysterious golden fragments. They were ancient and mysterious. They gathered together and appeared in the 9 heavens, forming a huge golden shield. It covered the entire sky and covered Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian within it. The golden shield seemed to have devoured the boundless power of the primitive continent. It was connected with the aura of the entire primitive continent. It contained an immortal and mysterious power fluctuation. Boundless Chaos Shield. This is a supreme forbidden technique that has been lost for generations. Who would have thought that it would actually fall into the hands of this kid? The Reincarnation Emperor's eyes glinted as he spoke slowly. Can the Boundless Chaos Shield block the 3 generations of Nirvana light? Also, why wasn't Zhao Ritian targeted by the Transcendence Great Tribulation? Luolua's eyes lit up as she hurriedly asked. Difficult. The immeasurable primordial shield was said to be the art of splitting open the heavens. It was a powerful defensive shield formed by drawing upon the origin of the primordial continent. It was difficult for emperors to break through. However, the 3 generations of Nirvana light is too special. It can attack 3 bodies. Even if the Boundless Chaos Shield can protect Ling Xiao's present body, it can't protect his past and future bodies. As for why Zhao Ritian wasn't targeted by the Transcendence Great Tribulation, it was because he had fused 3 lives into one. His past, present, and future bodies were fused into one, making him a fateless one. To the Tao of Heaven, he was like an inanimate object. Naturally, he wouldn't be targeted. I never would have thought that Zhao Ritian would be so daring. In order to help Ling Xiao transcend the tribulation, he actually fused 3 lives into one and became a fateless one. From now on, his cultivation base will never be able to advance, and he'll have to face all sorts of tribulations. The Reincarnation Emperor sighed softly. Fusing 3 lives into one wasn't a secret to him. He could tell at a glance that Zhao Ritian had fused with the 3 lives stone, and had become a fateless one, thus confirming his Tao and becoming an emperor. That was why he could help Ling Xiao transcend the Transcendence Great Tribulation. Fusing 3 lives into one. Cutting off his future. Doesn't that mean he doesn't have a future? Even if he's on good terms with Ling Xiao, there's no need for him to pay such a price. Even Luolua was shocked by the Reincarnation Emperor's words. He's the only one who knows the answer. The Reincarnation Emperor said softly. Crack. The mysterious and unfathomable 3-world Nirvana light descended. It was resplendent to the extreme, as if it had distorted time and space, destroyed reality and falsehood, and formed an incomparably mysterious devouring. It was a terrifying sight. The primeval infinity shield trembled violently, and the magical symbols on its surface began to shatter. In the end, cracks began to appear on its surface, as though it might shatter at any moment. Get the hell out of here, Zhao Ritian. Ling Xiao said. Since when did I need you to interfere with my tribulation? Get the hell out of here. Ling Xiao roared, his eyes bloodshot. Although the primeval infinity shield had blocked the 3 lives Nirvana light, it wouldn't last much longer. It would soon shatter. He didn't want Zhao Ritian to get involved in the Transcendence Tribulation. If he wasn't careful, Zhao Ritian could very well end up dead. Cut the crap. Ling Xiao, if you weren't so useless, would I have to risk my life? When the primeval infinity shield shatters, I'll try my best to protect your primordial spirit. However, whether or not you can survive the 3 lives Nirvana light will depend on whether your past and future bodies are strong enough. Zhao Ritian bellowed. His eyes were filled with an untamed look. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, the boundless chaos shield trembled violently. One rune after another collapsed, and then it exploded with a loud bang. The mysterious 3 lives nirvana light descended from the sky and enveloped Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian in an instant. Sovereign's descent. Zhao Ritian suddenly roared. He clasped his hands together, and a dazzling light radiated from his body. Chaotic mist filled the air, and it was as though a mysterious world had been created from the chaos, protecting Ling Xiao within it. The surrounding 3,000 origins of the great Tao intertwined, and the power of the world rose. It seemed to contain an incomparably mysterious power that blocked the 3 lives nirvana light for a moment. However, Zhao Ritian knew that it was only one of the 3 generations of nirvana light that was targeted at Ling Xiao's current body. The other 2 streaks of 3 generations of nirvana light twisted in the void and entered Ling Xiao's body without any resistance, disappearing without a trace. If I have an afterlife, I'll definitely be stronger than I am now. It won't be a problem for me to survive the 3 lives nirvana light tribulation. In my previous life, I was only at the sovereign realm. How could I survive the 3 lives nirvana light tribulation? However, the 3 lives nirvana light tribulation is extremely mysterious. It might not be a test of cultivation. Perhaps I still have a chance. Ling Xiao thought to himself. He sat cross-legged in the void, and his body was surrounded by a dazzling light. Facing the vast and mysterious 3 lives nirvana light, Ling Xiao didn't move. He had to survive this tribulation. There was no other way to stop it. Ling Xiao only hoped that he could survive the 3 lives nirvana light tribulation. Otherwise, all his previous efforts would be wasted. Rumble. In the mysterious light, Ling Xiao seemed to see his future. He sat cross-legged in the endless chaotic void. He was hundreds of millions of miles tall, and his body was filled with immortal light. Every move he made contained supreme power that could split the heavens and earth. Around him, chaos rose, and scenes of the world's birth and death appeared continuously. Blood was shed, and the heavens and earth were shattered. It was as if nothing existed. He was the only one left. It was a scene like Azura hell. It was as if he had gone through endless bloody battles. In the end, the heavens and earth were destroyed, and the world returned to ruins. He was the only one left. However, there was no doubt about his strength. With a thought, he could open up a world. With a casual breath, he could set off a chaotic storm. There seemed to be a boundless fire rising in his eyes, and the chaotic lightning in his hair was dazzling. At this moment, the 3 lives nirvana light shrouded him. Ling Xiao saw the figure that was hundreds of millions of miles tall and seemed to say a word. In an instant, the chaos shattered, and the 3 lives nirvana light turned into nothingness. The scene of the future also exploded and disappeared without a trace. Has my next life passed the 3 lives nirvana light tribulation? Ling Xiao guessed in his heart. His eyes were full of doubts. Boom! A ray of 3 lives nirvana light bloomed. It was as if an endless river of time had emerged. Ling Xiao's consciousness traveled through the ages, and various scenes of his previous life appeared in the void. My previous life was only a supreme being. It would be extremely difficult for me to pass the 3 lives nirvana light tribulation. Ling Xiao thought to himself. A blood-red light bloomed in front of him. It was like a scene from Azura hell. Endless fiend gods had fallen, and the heavens and earth were mourning. Blood rained down, and the world was shattered. It was extremely terrifying. A tall, handsome, and extraordinarily tall middle-aged man stood towering in the chaotic space. His entire body emanated an invincible aura of a ruler that had descended to the world. There were more than a dozen figures with terrifying auras around him. They exuded monstrous demonic light and supreme emperor aura. Each of them seemed to be able to kill hundreds of millions of creatures. They were extremely powerful. In the next moment, he moved. An extremely bright ray of light bloomed. Chaos rose, and the heavens and earth shook. It was as if 3,000 worlds had appeared at the same time. A monstrous aura pressed down mightily. The powerful fiend gods were bleeding profusely. Their physical bodies were shattered, and their primordial spirits were destroyed. A monstrous evil aura spread out, and they died under his invincible fist. The indifferent and majestic voice seemed to have passed through endless time and space. It exploded between the heavens and earth. I am the Heavenly Emperor. I shall suppress all enemies in the world. The mysterious voice was like thunder from the ninth heaven. It was like the command of the heavenly Tao. It contained the power of law, and it made Ling Xiao's body tremble. His eyes were filled with horror. This is my previous life. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with disbelief. In his previous life, he was the sky-devouring supreme Ling Xiao. It was because he had obtained the wordless heavenly book that he could be reborn. But why was his previous life not the sky-devouring supreme Ling Xiao under the 3 lives nirvana light tribulation, but a terrifying figure like the heavenly emperor? And that figure was extremely familiar to Ling Xiao. It was because of this familiarity that he found it hard to believe that he was that person in his previous life. Chapter 3367. The Totem of the Human Race. The Spiritual Leader. The founder of the era of the human race. No amount of praise could be used to describe him. He was the Celestial Emperor. When the demonic race was dominating the world, and when the human race was weak and helpless, he was like a bolt of lightning that pierced through the darkness, illuminating the world. The Celestial Emperor was a legend. During the era of the demonic race, he rose to power and broke through realms in a heaven-defying manner. His talent was heaven-defying to the extreme. Finally, he became an emperor and was known as the Celestial Emperor. Before the Celestial Emperor attained his Tao, he was already able to kill emperors. After attaining his Tao, he led the human race to defeat the demonic race and killed more than 10 demonic emperors. The demonic race was covered in corpses and blood. It was a scene of hell on earth. Until now, an era had passed. The fear of the Celestial Emperor was still deep in the demonic race. In the final battle, the Celestial Emperor killed his way into the demonic world and killed the demonic emperors. In the end, he fell into the demonic race's trap and died in the demonic world. Later, the human emperors inherited the Celestial Emperor's will and fought bloody battles. In the end, the glory of the human race was born. In Ling Xiao's heart, he respected the Celestial Emperor and the 9 emperors of the human race. However, he did not expect that his past life would be the legend of the human race. The Celestial Emperor. Suddenly, Ling Xiao took a deep look at Zhao Ritian. There was a strange look in his eyes. If he was the Celestial Emperor in his past life, wouldn't Zhao Ritian be his son? It was a strange feeling. Zhao Ritian glared at Ling Xiao and said, "Ling Xiao, don't think that you can take advantage of me just because you're the Celestial Emperor in your past life. My father is dead. You have nothing to do with me. You can see it." Ling Xiao was stunned. That was his past life. Under the illumination of the 3 lives nirvana light, it was as if time had reversed. That was why he could see the truth behind the heavy fog. However, he did not expect Zhao Ritian to see it too. Of course I can see it. I've fused with 3 lives and am a fateless one. Now that I'm helping you pass the tribulation, I can see the various scenes in the Great Tribulation. I thought that my father was still alive. I didn't expect him to really be dead. Zhao Ritian's voice was a little low. Looking at the figure within the 3 generations of Nirvana light, his face was a little gloomy. Don't be sad. Ling Xiao did not know how to comfort Zhao Ritian. This feeling was too strange. No one would be able to accept the fact that they had such a big son out of nowhere. Don't be distracted. Your previous incarnation was me, the Celestial Emperor. Then, his previous life's 3 lives nirvana tribulation naturally wouldn't be much of a problem. The biggest problem is still your current body. Your current body is only left with the body of the primordial spirit, which is not complete. That is the biggest tribulation you have to face. I will do my best to help you overcome this calamity, but don't you dare take advantage of me in the future. Zhao Ritian glared at Ling Xiao. Ah. All right. Ling Xiao nodded with a bitter smile on his face. Zhao Ritian was not the only one who could not accept it. Even he could not accept it. Fortunately, outsiders did not know that he was the celestial emperor in his previous life. They could not see the scene within the 3 lives nirvana tribulation. They could only see the blazing light enveloping Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian. Lightning raged, flames rose, and heaven and earth shook. Space and time seemed to be distorted. It was a scene of the end of the world. Crack. The sovereign's descent boundary around Zhao Ritian let out a crisp sound as if it was going to shatter at any time. The 3 lives nirvana light was an extremely mysterious power. It seemed to have transcended the heavenly way's origin and was unstoppable. The sovereign's descent boundary did not last long. Soon, it turned into a dazzling rain of light and exploded into fine powder. Rumble. Zhao Ritian's eyes narrowed as he quickly formed a seal with his hands. A powerful aura rose and blocked the 3 lives nirvana light. The Yen Emperor's cauldron shone brightly and flames filled the sky. It was as sturdy and indestructible as a chaotic divine mountain. The Heavenly Emperor's seal was extremely thick, ancient, and mysterious. It exuded a vast origin source light and formed a powerful boundary. The Heavenly Way Emperor's sword aura rose as if it could destroy everything. It intertwined and tried to shatter the 3 lives nirvana light. Other than that, there were all kinds of sabers, spears, swords, halberds, pagodas, Buddhist beads, lotuses, and golden pots. They were all extremely powerful treasures and Zhao Ritian took them all out. Did this guy dig up a great emperor's grave? He has so many extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Ling Xiao was shocked. There were dozens of extreme Dao Emperor weapons that Zhao Ritian had taken out. Every single one of them was extremely powerful and powerful. The dozens of extreme Dao Emperor weapons were activated at the same time. The vast extreme Dao Emperor's aura seemed to be able to shatter everything. The terrifying aura made Ling Xiao's heart palpitate. However, under the 3 lives nirvana light, the extreme Dao Emperor weapons melted like snow. They could not stop the 3 lives nirvana light at all. Zhao Ritian, step aside. I can only overcome the 3 lives nirvana light by myself. Ling Xiao said slowly as his eyes shone with a bright light. What nonsense are you talking about? I don't believe that I can't withstand the 3 lives nirvana light. Zhao Ritian said angrily. Rumble. The 3 lives nirvana light that slashed towards Ling Xiao's previous body was extremely terrifying. Even the invincible Heavenly Emperor's figure seemed to be unable to withstand it. However, in the end, the Heavenly Emperor used his supreme killing technique and its power was extremely powerful. In the end, the 3 lives nirvana light was destroyed. 2 of the 3 lives nirvana light tribulations had been destroyed and only the current body was left. The mysterious and bright light looked extremely bright and dazzling. However, it contained extremely terrifying destructive power. The extreme Dao Emperor weapons continued to smile. Zhao Ritian's body was trembling and his face was extremely pale. Although he was still holding on, Ling Xiao could tell that Zhao Ritian would not be able to hold on for long. Swoosh! Ling Xiao's body shone with golden light. The myriad Dao golden elixir in his body was emitting a faint light that shrouded his entire body. He instantly shot up into the sky and charged into the vast 3 lives nirvana light tribulations. Rumble. The heavens and earth shook and the void shattered. It was as if everything had collapsed in an instant and disappeared without a trace. The mysterious light devoured Ling Xiao. Bastard! Zhao Ritian's eyes were filled with anxiety and anger. He stomped his feet and shot up into the sky without a care. He also entered the dazzling light. In the endless blazing 3 lives nirvana light, it was as if reincarnation had occurred. The heavens and earth were shattered and all sorts of mysterious scenes could be seen in the surroundings. Ling Xiao's body shone with immortal light. He used a supreme secret skill and activated the power of the myriad Dao golden elixir to resist the 3 lives nirvana light. Seeing that Zhao Ritian had followed him in, Ling Xiao frowned and said coldly, "Why are you following me in? Get lost. I can't possibly watch you die here, right?" Zhao Ritian said with a smile. His eyes were calm. Blood light rose from his body and the extreme emperor's aura gushed out. The 3,000 worlds revolved behind him as if they could destroy everything. He was helping Ling Xiao to resist the 3 lives nirvana light tribulations. However, the 3 lives nirvana light tribulations were too terrifying. It was everywhere and constantly annihilated everything. Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian had originally separated 100 feet of space. However, the space was constantly being compressed. The 3 lives nirvana light continued to gather and soon, it had reached 100 feet of space. Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian both understood that if the 3 lives nirvana light were to invade them, they would definitely die even if they had the body of a great emperor and supreme secret skills. This was the most powerful backlash from the heavenly way. It was also the most terrifying restriction in this world. It could even be said to be the last shackle in one's life. If one could break through it, they would be able to ascend and completely transcend. If one couldn't break through it, they would fall into oblivion forever and never be reincarnated. Zhao Ritian, why do you have to do this? Even with you, if I can't overcome the 3 lives nirvana light tribulations, it's just one more person dying in vain. Ling Xiao sighed softly. Why? Are you looking down on me? Do you think I want to save you? Who asked you to be my father in your previous life? However, don't think too much about it. That's a matter of your previous life. I won't admit it. I just feel that if you die, I won't have any opponents in this world. It's too lonely to be invincible. Zhao Ritian laughed proudly. I didn't expect it either. However, if you were a heavenly emperor in your previous life, why didn't you awaken any of your memories with your current cultivation? I keep feeling that there's something strange about this. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment and said. There's no need to think about it. If it's a trick left behind by my father, I'm afraid no one will be able to discover your true identity, let alone you. If you want to awaken the memories of your previous life, I'm afraid you'll have to wait until you merge with all 3 bodies and become a true transcendence being. Zhao Ritian said slowly. Am I really your father? Ling Xiao asked. Ling Xiao, do you believe that I'll kill you right now? Zhao Ritian glared at Ling Xiao and said unkindly. Although that was the truth, Zhao Ritian felt that Ling Xiao was taking advantage of him and was extremely unhappy. All right. How do you know? Ling Xiao looked at Zhao Ritian and asked seriously. Zhao Ritian's appearance was too sudden. Someone must have done something behind the scenes. It was the senior from Kuan-Wu Mountain who told me. He gave me the 3 lives stone and told me that you're most likely my father's reincarnation. He asked me to choose whether to merge with all 3 bodies to help you overcome the transcendence tribulation. Without any hesitation, Zhao Ritian told Ling Xiao. Senior from Kuan-Wu Mountain. How did he know? Ling Xiao was even more confused. If it was really a trick of the Heavenly Emperor, how did the Emperor of Kuan-Wu Mountain know about it when even the 4 sovereigns and the weapon spirit of the textless Heavenly Book were fooled? I'm not sure about that. However, the senior from Kuan-Wu Mountain is not a bad person. Everything he did was for the greater good of the human race. Although I don't really want to save you, it's just like what the senior from Kuan-Wu Mountain said. You can't die. If I can use my life in exchange for your transcendence, it's worth it. Zhao Ritian said with a smile. Use your life in exchange for my transcendence? What are you trying to do? Ling Xiao asked as he stared at Zhao Ritian. He had a bad feeling about this. Rumble. At that moment, the 3 generations Nirvana light tribulation was only a foot away from them. It was surging like a huge wave that could bury them both at any time. All of Zhao Ritian's Supreme Emperor weapons had turned into nothingness, including the Heavenly Emperor Seal, Heavenly Emperor Sword, and Yen Emperor Cauldron. The supreme forbidden technique that Ling Xiao had used was also shattered. Only a faint layer of golden light was left from the myriad Tao golden core. It formed a barrier that protected Ling Xiao and Zhao Ritian. However, it could also shatter at any time. Ling Xiao, you must live on. You must. If you see my father, tell him that I, Zhao Ritian, am not inferior to him. Zhao Ritian said as he looked at Ling Xiao seriously. Then, he smiled. His smile was pure and bright. It was like a pure and innocent child's smile that came from the bottom of his heart. In his eyes, there was reluctance, longing, unwillingness, pride, and a trace of loneliness and longing that was hidden deep in his heart. Boom! Blood qi surged from Zhao Ritian's body. His flesh and bones shattered at that moment. Like a storm, they surged towards Ling Xiao.